Roll number 31, please be ready.
Okay, I'm ready. स्टार्ट करू मॅडम. हॅलो शिंदे मॅडम, स्टार्ट करूया.
थांबा सर, सर सांगतील तेव्हा.
हॅलो शिंदे मॅडम, आवाज येतोय?
हो, तुमचा आवाज
ओके ओके,
येतोय.
आवाज येतोय
गौरव
ना?
सर सांगतील. हो हो.
Yes, yes. 31, please start.
ओके ओके ओके, स्टार्ट करू सर.
Yes, yes.
सर्वप्रथम आजच्या या सेशन मध्ये आपल्या सर्वांचं मी स्वागत करतोय. डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर विद्यापीठाच्या यासाठी 11व्या आणि 12व्या या सेशनमध्ये उपस्थित आपले सहभागी बरोबर डॉक्टर शर्मिला घुगे मॅडम आपल्या सर्वांचं या कार्यक्रमामध्ये सर्वोत्तम स्वागत करतोय. आजच्या रिसर्च पर्सनचा परिचय करून देताना मला अत्यंत आनंद होत आहे. अत्यंत प्रेरक समाजशील असं व्यक्तिमत्व आज आपल्याला
आवाज येत नाही सर.
BA नेट आणि PhD पर्यंत त्यांचे शिक्षण झाले. भारत आणि UK मध्ये त्यांचे शिक्षण पूर्ण झालेले. BA अमरावती विद्यापीठामधून इंग्रजी साहित्यामध्ये त्यांनी 1995 ला पूर्ण केलेले. त्यानंतर त्यांचे LLB चे शिक्षण MP लॉ कॉलेज औरंगाबाद या विद्यापीठामध्ये डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर विद्यापीठामध्ये केले आणि 2003 ला त्या टॉपर आहेत युनिव्हर्सिटीमध्ये. त्यानंतर PhD 2012 मध्ये मॅडमने PhD कंप्लीट केली आहे. डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन राइट टू डाय
हेलो
Good afternoon, sir. Rafni, sir, if you are there, I think there is some technical disturbance. The person cannot introduce. So I don't mind even if the introduction is skipped. सर तुम्ही ऑडिबल नाही आहात आणि आपण फक्त केवळ लॅपटॉपकडे बघतो इतक्या वेळ. तुमच्याकडे काहीतरी टेक्निकल एरर आहे मला वाटतं.
ओके ओके चालेल. मी सर्वप्रथम तुमचं स्वागत करतोय आणि मी अधिक वेळ न घेता तुमचे प्रेरक मार्गदर्शक विचार आम्हा सर ऐकण्यासाठी उत्सुक आहोत. माझं इंट्रोडक्शन होत असेल.
नाही नाही सॉरी, वेळ घेण्याबद्दल नाही, पण तुम्ही काय बोलत होतात आम्हाला कळत नव्हतं. त्यामुळे जे कोणी 2-3 लोक ऐकत असतील त्यांनाही वाटेल की कशाबद्दल तुम्ही बोलताय. Anyways, all right. So, for the convenience of everybody, Namaskar. I'm Dr. Sharmila Ghuge, Associate Professor, teaching at Jitendra Chauhan Law College in Mumbai. I am a resource person for UGC Refresher Orientation and FTP courses for the last 8 years. And I'm a recipient of PhD at the hands of Dr. Abdul Kalam. I have written around 40 research papers, published 8 books, and I believe in writing as much as I can as a teacher. And yes, I hold my doctorate and my law degrees from Aurangabad University, which is my home ground. And I've been blessed in life to have a good network of people because I love talking to people, not to the laptop though. पण आता पर्याय नाही, त्यामुळे आपण लॅपटॉपवर बोलणार आहोत. Firstly, let me know if there is anybody who doesn't understand Hindi or Marathi. मराठी इथे कुणाला कळत नाही, अनम्यूट करून सांगू शकाल? बिकॉज आय बिलीव्ह जास्त लोक मराठी असतील तर आय कॅन स्विच इन बिटवीन.
मराठी सर्वांना समजते मॅडम.
ठीक है
मैम, मतलब हम लोग हिंदी और इंग्लिश समझते हैं, बाहर
जी
स्टेट के हैं।
जी, बढ़िया, ठीक है. लैंग्वेज तो लैंग्वेज तो अपना ऑफिशियली इंग्लिश ही होता है, but in between sometimes if the participants request then we can switch on to other language. Okay, all right. Now I always say that it is a task, you know, for the teachers, especially the post lunch session. क्योंकि post lunch session में क्या दिक्कत आती है कि खाना खा चुके होते हैं, सुनते सुनते वैसी नींद आती है, और हम हमेशा कहते हैं कि a mother is good to put one baby to sleep, और टीचर तो पूरे क्लास को सुला देती है. अब दिक्कत यह है कि आप सब लोग ना दिखाई देते हैं हमें, ना सुनाई देते हैं जब तक आप अनम्यूट नहीं करोगे. तो सबसे पहले तो ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि पता नहीं कितने लोग सुन रहे हैं या कितने लोगों ने सिर्फ लॉग इन किया है. हम लोग एज टीचर्स, यू नो, स्टूडेंट्स को ये सब बोलते रहते हैं कि डोंट जस्ट लॉग इन, यू मस्ट लिसन, यू मस्ट बी एक्टिव, यू मस्ट रिस्पॉन्ड. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू योरसेल्फ, यू एक्चुअली डू द सेम थिंग एज द स्टूडेंट्स. थोड़ा बहुत फ्लेवर. सो हैप्पी टू सी वन ब्यूटीफुल फेस देयर. 23
ma'am,
roll
we
number.
are reasonably responsible.
थैंक यू सो मच. आई एम हैप्पी. इतने सारे लोगों ने फटाफट कैमराज ऑन कर दिए, प्रूव कर रहे हैं कि मैडम हम जाग रहे हैं, हम सोए नहीं हैं. So sweet of you. Very nice, very nice. अच्छा, चलिए. So without taking much of your time, we are going to discuss today about human rights. I believe ये पूरा सेशन ही आपका human rights पे है ना? और किस डेट से स्टार्ट हुए हैं आपके सेशंस?
22
22nd. ओके, तो मतलब अभी तो 15 दिन हो रहे हैं, तो बहुत कुछ सुन चुके हैं आप. तो अभी मुझे सिखा सकते हो ह्यूमन राइट्स, है ना?
No, ma'am, it's all about human rights, all subjects, all contents.
Yeah, all topics are about human rights. So I will try and avoid repeating what has been discussed. क्योंकि generally तो हमें पता होता है. Everybody talks about international instruments, then human rights provisions, the UDHR.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
In induction course, we have different contents from just like humanities and yoga and this and that. This is the first lecture for human rights.
Oh, is it? So you
No,
have
it's like
you have
that.
not had much of discussions on human
it's a
rights.
varied content. Varied
no,
content.
no any discussion.
Okay. All right. So we will discuss that, and we will focus on some key areas of human rights violations. That is how one really understands what we are talking about. So we have two phases. One is, I think, 3 to 4:30 p.m. Break कितने बजे है आपका?
You can decide that suitably, madam.
Okay. No, but I think 1.5 hour is more than enough because it is 3 to 6, no? So we can take a break at 4:30. You all can have your tea, coffee, and come back in 10 minutes. So we decided that way. So 4:30 को break लेते हैं. 10 मिनट के लिए आप टी कॉफी ले लीजिए, फिर resume करते हैं till 6 o'clock. I mean till 4:45. 15-20 minutes. I'll be happy if we have question answer sessions. Otherwise, as I always say, one way traffic होगा तो आप लोग सो जाओगे. है ना? So all right, so with this I will just share my screen and we will start with the session. This icon is coming. All right, I believe the screen is visible to all now.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So see, in between if the screen goes off, you just let me know कि मैम स्क्रीन गया है या मेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. Because now when I have put the screen on slideshow, I cannot see your comments or I cannot even see if you raise the hand. है ना? तो एक काम करते हैं, थोड़ा थोड़ा डिस्कशन करके बीच में ये स्क्रीन मिनिमाइज करके अगर कुछ क्वेश्चंस है, क्वेरीज है तो वो ले लेते हैं. ठीक है? कैसे बेटर है आप लोगों को, बीच में क्वेश्चंस लूं या एट द एंड लूं? आपका प्रेफरेंस क्या है बताइए.
At the end.
एट द एंड ले लूं ना? ठीक है, ठीक है. सो वी स्टार्ट नाउ फ्रेंड्स. As I don't know, roll number 3 was giving the introduction, maybe. I don't know sir's name, whoever he was. I encroached on his time because I couldn't hear anything और मुझे लगा हम खाली बैठे हैं. So well friends,
हॅलो मॅडम.
हाँ सर, बोला बोला.
हॅलो, मी उपस्थित आहे आता मी जॉईन झालो आहे. तुमचं स्वागत करण्यासाठी मला थोडी दिक्कत आहे. पण
सर I still cannot hear you. I still cannot hear you. तो असू द्या, तुमचं जेव्हा नेटवर्क क्लिअर असेल आणि तुम्ही नेटवर्क मध्ये असाल तेव्हा आपण बोलूया. ठीक आहे? All right. So, first of all, let me give you a bit of idea about the word rights. See, when people are not from law background, most of us think that whatever is a fundamental right is a human right or a word right. So what do you mean by right? See, आज की दुनिया में क्या हुआ है ना, हर इंसान को right ये शब्द अच्छे से पता है. Because everybody thinks I have a right to do this. You know, every child says, I have a right to pocket money. I have a right to go out. I have a right to watch movies. I have a right to speak. I have a right to do this. How many of us actually think about the duties? Now, this is a very deep philosophy that rights are very important, no doubt. At the same time, our duties are also equally important. But today, unfortunately, दुनिया में ऐसा है कि लोग कर्तव्य नहीं देखते हैं. एक आपको छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ, काफी एग्जाम्पल्स देती रहूंगी बीच बीच में. That's how I normally discuss. So, if you assume that there are 4 brothers and now the parents passed away, and the elder brother, being the eldest one, now knows that we have so much of property. So if he is a person who is actually duty bound in terms of very fair and reasonable duty bound, he thinks कि भाई चलो अपने पास अभी 20 एकड़ जमीन है, अपन 4 भाई है, 5-5 एकड़ चारों को दे देते हैं. अगर उसने ये किया तो छोटे भाई को उस पे केस फाइल करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. Point is, this is a very simple example. This philosophy belongs to Professor Duguid. It is a philosophy which talks about if people perform their duties, others will not fight for their rights. So if the elder brother automatically gives the property to the younger brothers will not file a civil suit in the High Court or in the City Civil Court. So I always feel, you know, as I'm into practice as well and I'm into social activism, तो मैं कई बार सोचती हूँ, जैसे मेरे यहाँ सामने आके कुछ हस्बैंड वाइफ्स बैठते हैं, मैट्रिमोनियल केसेस होती है, एंड इफ दे you know come up with a point that okay, we have a conflict because of this. My first question is, are you duty bound? And if a person doesn't perform his duty, the other person has to fight for his right. And the minute you fight for the right, you have a dispute. So, rights one can understand in the context of every person, whatever you wish is not a right. Say, for example, tomorrow if I say, चलिए भाई मुझे तो एंटीला में बैठ के अंबानी जी के साथ कॉफी पीनी है, will it be my right? No, it will not be my right, it will be one of my desire, I may say. हो सकता है कि हमें interest है ऐसा कुछ करने में. So it can be one of my desire that I desire to go and sit in Antilla and have a cup of coffee. That cannot be my right. So what can be a right? The word right. Well, right is defined as interest recognized and protected by the state. Now, my interest to have a cup of coffee in Antilla with Mr. Mukesh Ambani or Nita Ambani is an interest which cannot be protected by the government, by the state. It is a desire, and therefore that cannot be a right. But my freedom of expression is a right because that is protected by the state. So, right word means your interest. Interest is desire. Recognized and protected by the state becomes a right. Fundamental rights are those rights which are attributed by the constitution of our country. आप सब लोग academicians हो, आप सब लोग constitution तो जानते ही है, even if you are not from law background, but every person understands that constitution is the supreme law of the land. And constitution, part 3, allows us to have a list of fundamental rights. These are our fundamental rights because the constitution has given. So what are the human rights? That we are going to discuss today. And our topic for discussion is how we are going to have the flow is firstly, what are human rights? Then why are we discussing about human rights? And then a few vulnerable sections who are always a target under human rights. तो इस तरह से हम लोग वार्तालाप करने वाले हैं. किसी को नींद आती है बीच में तो सवाल पूछ सकते हैं, ठीक है? बट शर्त यह है कि किसी को सोना नहीं है. एंड एज आई सेड इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू स्टे अवेक. आई विल ऑल्सो बी सिपिंग माई छास इन बिटवीन ताकि मैं भी जागती रहूं. ऑल राइट. आई एम ऑल्सो यूज टू write a lot on positive thoughts. That's how my writing is. And I always believe कि जिंदगी में हमेशा खुश रहना चाहिए. खुशी से जियोगे तो सब कुछ हासिल होगा. So, if you are attentive, if you are happy about listening to the session, maybe you will gain something out of it. What are human rights? Well, fundamental rights are attributed by the Constitution. Human rights are not attributed by any document as such. Because we are born as human beings, every person, by the virtue of being born as a human being, has his or her human rights. And human rights are a variety of range. मतलब बहुत सारी rights होते हैं, जैसे right to life, right to freedom, right against exploitation, rights against slavery, right to family, right to education, right to clothing, right against discrimination, so on and so forth. So ये rights का contemporary era में क्या connection है? Now, we can't have one-to-one talk because then, the mic disturbance and all that becomes an issue, but I normally love to talk one-to-one. In the contemporary era, when we say we are civilized, shouldn't it be the case more the civilization, lesser the violation of rights? है ना? मतलब अगर हम ये सोचते हैं कि आज की दुनिया में हम बहुत शिक्षित हो गए हैं, बहुत प्रगत हो गए हैं, तो उस हिसाब से जो गुनाह है वो कम होने चाहिए. कम हुए हैं? बिल्कुल भी नहीं. बिल्कुल भी नहीं. है ना?
No.
So, ऐसा क्यों है? That is what firstly we are going to discuss. See, you all are teachers. I am a teacher. We are always in the midst of students, education. That is why where we are today. We talk high about education. Now, my question to myself always is education equal to civilization? Discuss करते हैं तो आप लोग भी जान पाएंगे. Now, in the contemporary era, we really boast ourselves as we are living in the internet revolution, the globalization, the economic liberalization, emancipation, tremendous growth, development, blah, 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 blah. काफी सारी चीजें हैं. अब इतना सब होने के बावजूद, are we civilized is my question. Okay, the question mark comes, are we civilized? Are we really advanced? And what do we mean by civilization? Now, if you look at these images, इसके साथ हम डिस्कस करेंगे। ये जो कुछ चित्र आपके नजरों के सामने आए हैं, एक में आप देख रहे हैं कि एक महिला फांसी लेके लटक रही है, दूसरा सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट का है, किसी महिला का लैंगिक क्षण हो रहा है, तीसरा डिसेबिलिटी है, नीचे एक सीनियर सिटीजन्स की द्विधा दिखाई है, एक महिलाओं पे अत्याचार, और लास्ट वाला जो है फीमेल फिटिसाइड, गर्भपात। नाउ व्हेन वी से वी आर डेवलप्ड, वी आर एजुकेटेड, आर वी सिविलाइज्ड, आपको एक उदाहरण देती हूँ। National Crime Bureau statistics. Okay, this is a national site where you can refer the level of criminals increasing, crimes increasing, crime rate increasing in the country on various fronts. So if you go to the National Crime Bureau statistics, you will get. Now, whenever you are free, try the crime rate in India in 2024. ठीक है? दूसरा ट्राई कीजिएगा क्राइम रेट इन इंडिया इन द ईयर 1960 1970. ठीक है? Now, if you go to 1960s and 70s, we were not much progressed. We were not much developed as we are today. But the crime rate was very less. More the development, more is the crime. एक एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ आपको, आप लोगों में से किसी ने सुना होगा या विजिट किया होगा. There is a place called Hemal Kasa. This is on the border of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. And here there is a entire unit of for the leprosy patients set up by Mr. Baba Amte. बहुत बड़ा मिशन है और बहुत ही सुंदर कार्य किया है इन्होंने, बहुत साल दिए हैं अपनी जिंदगी के. सो आमटे फैमिली रिसाइड्स देयर. अब तो ये अब की बात है प्रोग्रेस की, मैं पहले की बात बता रही हूँ. Now, this is a place which is आदिवासी एरिया. यहाँ पे सब आदिवासी लोग रहते हैं. अभी पिछले 10-20 वर्षों में थोड़े बदलाव आए हैं. अदरवाइज पीपल, women used to wear sarees without blouse, क्योंकि वो आदिवासी पहराव था. No electricity, no much education, no schools, rather schools were at a very distant place. You will be shocked and surprised to know, in such a tribal area which had no progress, no development, till date, not a single rape case has been registered. सही सुना आपने, आज तक एक भी रेप केस वहां पे फाइल नहीं हुआ है. मेट्रो सिटी में, in cities where I'm sitting, I'm at Mumbai right now at Nariman Point, just bang opposite the Marine Drive. Delhi, Calcutta, Bangalore. What is the crime rate of rape? So in metro cities, overall friends, आपको जान के बहुत ही धक्का लग सकता है इस बात से, एक दिन में 120 महिलाओं का रेप होता है अपने देश में. Now the Crime Bureau reports that 120 women are raped in a day. So approximately every 15 minutes one woman is raped. Okay. 3 hours जब तक हमारा ये सेशन हो जाता है, कई सारी महिलाओं का बलात्कार हो जाएगा. दुर्दैव की बात है. So the point is, in cities, we have so much education, we have so much infrastructure, we have so much development, but the crime rate is high. Now you go to an Adivasi area, zero development, zero education, zero tamjam of life, but there is no case registered yet, a rape case in that place where even women dress up saris without blouses, you know. So the point is, how can we equate education, civilization with protection of rights? No. One more example I'll give you. I'm on the point to make you understand and realize that education is only one of the medium towards civilization and not the sole medium. Okay? Now another example here, you go to a village. आप लोगों में से कोई लोग कनेक्टेड है किसी गांव से? गांव आना जाना होता है किसी का?
यस मैम.
बढ़िया.
यस
मैं भी बड़ी,
यस
थैंक यू.
Yes, ma'am.
मैं वेरी गुड. अब देखिए, जब 4-5 लोगों ने जवाब दे दिया है, बाकी अगर सुन रहे हो जाते हो तो पता होगा. यू गो टू अ विलेज, यू सी अ फार्मर. फार्मर बेचारा किसान है, 15-20 एकड़ जमीन है, छोटा सा घर है, अब बेटे की शादी करानी है, सो रिश्तेदार, अरे भाई कैसा है तेरे बेटा, अभी शादी लायक हो गया, शादी करनी है? हाँ हाँ, शादी तो करनी है, बताओ क्या क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है आपकी, क्या बताएगा किसान? देखो भाई, बेटा मेरा 12वीं फेल है, किराने की दुकान है, अपना इतना खेत है, और बस घर बार है, कुछ ज्यादा नहीं, बस 1 आध लाख रुपया दे दे, 2-3 तोला या 5 तोला सोना दे दे दुल्हन को, एक मोटरसाइकिल दे दे, टीवी वगैरह ले दे, और अच्छे से शादी करा दे, बस 250-300 लोग का खाना पूरा अच्छे से कर देना। What is the expectation? Expectation of a farmer is, give me 1 lakh rupees dowry, give me 5 tola gold, give me one motorcycle, one television, and 200-300 people food, and that is it. He still is committing an offense of demanding dowry. That is still an offense. Okay, I'm not trying to justify. What I'm trying to make you understand is the level of thought process and the tilt towards the crimes despite education. So now farmer is not very educated, his son is 12th class fail. Now you come to Mumbai. ठीक है, अब मुंबई आ गए। अब मुंबई में हमारे बैंड्रा में पाली हिल में बहुत एक्सपेंसिव फ्लैट्स है, वहां पे कोई शर्मा जी रहते हैं, जस्ट गिविंग अ नेम, ओके, डोंट टेक इट अदरवाइज, जस्ट अ एग्जांपल, वरना कोई शर्मा जी सुन रहे होंगे तो उन्हें बुरा लगेगा, ये तो हम एक एग्जांपल दे रहे हैं। सो Sharma ji's son has done IIT engineering and now has completed his masters in US and is coming back. तो शर्मा जी अभी तो अपना बेटा शादी लायक हो गया है, क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन है? Now what does Sharma ji say? Sharma ji is a fat rich businessman in Mumbai having a huge flat in Bombay, Bandra. Now Sharma ji says, अरे कुछ खास नहीं, अभी भाई बेटा अपना IIT हो गया है, अभी PG भी होके आया है, तो कहाँ की लड़की है? उदयपुर की। अच्छा ठीक है, तो उनको बोलो ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, एक 2 BH के घर ले ले। Someone's mic is on. I think roll number 18 maybe. Please mute yourself. Roll number 18, mute yourself. Roll number 18, please mute yourself. Thank you. So, मिस्टर शर्मा से, हाँ बस कुछ खास नहीं, अभी आप एक काम कीजिए, हमको बैंड्रा में पाली हिल 2 BH के फ्लैट लेके दे दीजिए, कुछ 8-9 करोड़ का आ जाएगा, कम से कम 50 तोला सोना, 2-4 डायमंड के सेट, एक आधी मर्सिडीज गाड़ी, और उदयपुर में बस डेस्टिनेशन वेडिंग करवा दीजिए। व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस माय फ्रेंड्स? फार्मर गरीब इंसान है, डाउरी तो खैर उसने भी मांग लिया, थोड़ा मांगा। शर्मा जी एजुकेटेड है, खुद एजुकेटेड है, उनका बेटा IIT इंजीनियर है, PG करके आया है। Now, if you think a farmer is not educated and therefore he's asking for dowry, let me tell you, we are wrong. We are wrong. Because the Sharma family is highly educated, but more the education, more is the demand, more is the violation of rights. The point is, civilization does not come only from education. Civilization springs from your values, your culture, your ethics. Now, the present national education policy infused in this country recently talks very high about ethics, values, and culture. The reason is, we Indians are known across the world for our culture and our values. Today, the violation of human rights is one of the major thing which occurs in the society because we have lost the thread of our culture. हम काफी सारे एग्जाम्पल्स आगे लेने वाले हैं, अब इसके साथ शुरुआत करते हैं। सो do not have a thought in mind that educated people do not commit crimes or educated people do not violate human rights. They also very much violate human rights. In fact, I see most of the cases where there are wrongs and offenses committed where people are educated. At times, people from village who are not very educated have more culture, have more ethics, and more conscious of the society. कि मैं ऐसा करूंगी तो लोग क्या कहेंगे, But in metro cities, that is no more a criteria. So with this, let me give you some information about what is UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, enacted in the year 1948. Sorry, I'm sipping my buttermilk in between because I normally do not have lunch. And I was delayed somewhere. So I just entered right now and I'm going on it. You all can also sip your water, chai, whatever you all like.
It's okay, ma'am. You can always do that.
No, it doesn't feel good on the camera, but anyways, in between we take a pause. So, Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. Now, we all are aware of various phases which have happened on this planet over the years, not only India, over the globe, I would say. So initially, somewhere in the 15th, 16th centuries, most of the countries were as colonies of some other countries, out of which Britain was the major country which had the colonies under the rule of British. Slowly and steadily, 17th, 18th century, the whole world witnessed changes and emancipation from various rules and slavery and colonies. This was the phase in the beginning of the 19th century where various philosophers came up with thoughts of liberty, equality, justice. As we all know, the hallmark of liberty is the Statue of Liberty in United States of America. Well, how did that come? एक दिन में तो कुछ होता नहीं है. So there's a lot of history. We are not going to go in depth of the history. The point is, there was a time in the world when people realized that we need to have a concept where human beings will respect another human being. After the Second World War, there was mass destruction in the world. As we all know, what happened with the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which has left its darkening marks till date on the society. So even if you think that, oh, people were bombed in such a manner, the entire place was bombed. So, what kind of rights were violated? Was there a control? What are we expected to do as human beings? So, especially after the two world wars, it was realized globally that we need to respect human beings, we need to protect human rights, and therefore there was establishment of the United Nations in the year 1945. The United Nations, under its umbrella, has enacted the 30-article piece called the UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in the year 1948. Now, there are 30 articles, 1 to 30. All these articles talk about various human rights like freedom, dignity, education, no discrimination, no injustice, then your right to movement, right to travel, right to speak, right to eat, right to environment, right to life, right to liberty, right of opinion, right of thought, right of religion, right to get married, right to have a child, right against slavery, right against inhuman treatment. So these are all the human rights which we have between Article 1 to Article 30 of the UDHR. This document also includes economic, social and cultural rights that no person should be deprived कि अरे भाई तू भाग यहाँ से तेरी क्या औकात. No. Every person socially, culturally should be a part of the particular society in equality. Then we had provisions regarding international orders, duties towards community, public order, and public welfare. There are some international instruments which are very famous for human rights protection. First is the Universal Declaration, which we just had a glance at. Then we have the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. We have a CEDAW Convention, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. हम सब लोग academicians हैं, इसलिए हम law background से हो ना हो, विशाखा का केस हमें पता होता है because we have a women development cell in our organization, in our institution. How many of you are not aware about the Vishakha's case, Vishakha versus state of Rajasthan? All are aware?
Is it
अगर कोई
Bhauri, madam?
yes, yes, ma'am. It's the Bhavri Devi case.
Yes, it is discussed during induction also.
Okay, good. So that case is decided on this convention, madam. You know, many of us know the cases, and being academicians, we should also know what is the law of our land. Not necessarily that you should be a law faculty at all. Basic law we all must know. So when Bhauri Devi's case came up before the Supreme Court, we did not have any provision of law which will protect a woman at workplace from sexual harassment. So what did the Supreme Court do? The Supreme Court relied on this international convention, जो CEDAW convention हमने अभी कहा. This convention was referred as the guiding path for the Supreme Court judges. They said, in India, we do not have any law apart from Constitution and IPC. And Constitution and IPC both did not have any provisions at that time regarding sexual harassment of women at workplace. Therefore, the Supreme Court relied on the CEDAW Convention. And the CEDAW Convention was ratified by India. Also, being academicians, we must understand whenever there is an international instrument or a convention, it is applicable to our country if we have ratified the same. And more than this, there have been various conferences. So there are some landmark conferences which have taken place for protection of human rights, like the Tehran Conference, the Vienna Conference, Beijing Conference. So all the conferences either had the agenda to protect women's right, to protect children's right, or female infanticide, slavery, victim justice, so on and so forth. Now we come to India. Before I take you all to a journey of vulnerable sections, हम पहले कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन और ह्यूमन राइट्स पे बात कर लेते हैं. सो इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ विच इज द सुप्रीम लॉ, भारत का संविधान जो बहुत ही मेहनत से और बहुत ही बारकाई से बनाया गया है, ये संविधान बनाने में हमें 2 years 11 months and 18 days लगे थे. And as we all know, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was the architect of the Indian Constitution, and the entire committee has put in 2 years 11 months and 18 days to give up this constitution today. So since the constitution in its making was from 1947 onwards, we were free in August, 15th August 1947 को हमें स्वतंत्रता मिली. उसके बाद कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली ऑर्गेनाइज हुई, अपॉइंट हुई और काम शुरू हुआ. मीनवाइल एट द यूनाइटेड नेशंस द ह्यूमन राइट्स यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन वाज इनैक्टेड इन द ईयर 1948. तो जैसे ही ह्यूमन राइट्स बन गए, उस दौरान हमारा संविधान प्रोसेस में था. हमारा संविधान तो हमें आया है 26 नवंबर 1949 को कुछ आर्टिकल्स आए हैं, एंड द एंटायर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज मेड पब्लिक इन एग्जीक्यूशन ऑन 26 जनवरी 1950. 48 and 50. So we had a lot of time in hands, and that is why it is said that various provisions of Indian Constitution are akin to the provisions of UDHR. जैसे हमारा प्रियम्बल है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का, प्रियम्बल के 4 महत्वपूर्ण पिलर्स है: जस्टिस, लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी एंड फ्रैटर्निटी. एंड दीज आर आल्सो द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स अंडर द ह्यूमन राइट्स कन्वेंशन. Fundamental rights, we have fundamental rights chapter from article 12 to 32. All the fundamental rights which we have under the Indian Constitution are protected as human rights in the human rights UDHR. We have directive principles, we have fundamental duties. Now few cases. आप लोग लॉ बैकग्राउंड से नहीं हो, बट आपको ये एक हाथ 2 केस डिस्कस करती हूँ, तो शायद से आप समझ पाओ कि how akin the human rights and the constitutional rights are. So we will discuss a case of Mr. X versus Hospital Z. हमारे यहाँ कोई भी लॉ बैकग्राउंड से नहीं है? एनी पार्टिसिपेंट्स फ्रॉम लॉ बैकग्राउंड?
Yes, ma'am. Roll number 39.
रोल नंबर 39. ओके, वेयर आर यू फ्रॉम सर?
I'm from ma'am Aligarh Muslim University.
Oh wow,
I did my
wonderful.
PhD from there.
Lovely, lovely. I want to visit the university once. Heard a
Sure,
lot
ma'am.
about it.
You are most welcome there, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So what is your good name?
Ma'am Saud Ahmad Khan.
Okay, okay, Khan sir. ठीक है. Pleasure meeting you. So,
Right.
so we will share a case of Mr. X versus Hospital Z for our other non-law participants. We are trying to understand the intricate relation between human rights and our constitution, which means our fundamental rights. So friends, short में बता देती हूँ तो ज्यादा टाइम नहीं जाएगा. Mr. X versus Hospital Z ये केस का नाम है. As you all know, for confidentiality reasons, कुछ केसेस में पार्टीज के नाम नहीं छपाए जाते हैं. अब ये केस ऐसा था कि देयर वाज अ डॉक्टर फ्रॉम नागालैंड. ही वाज अ यंग person, completed his MBBS. He was appointed as a doctor in Chennai in a hospital named Z. ठीक है, हॉस्पिटल का भी नाम नहीं आया है. डॉक्टर कहाँ से थे? नागालैंड से थे. उनका पोस्टिंग कहाँ हुआ? चेन्नई में हुआ. Now this doctor, he started working in hospital Z. After few days, his marriage was fixed with a girl and the girl also visited Mr. X. ये डॉक्टर का नाम है यहाँ पे Mr. X. So the girl visited the hospital many times to meet her fiance. Now one day, Mr. X's friend was in need of blood. So in the same hospital, but there was a blood requirement. So Mr. X got in the hospital. He being a doctor himself said, ठीक है भाई, मेरे फ्रेंड को ब्लड की जरूरत है, मैं ही ब्लड डोनेट करता हूँ. और भाई साहब ने अपना ब्लड दे दिया. अब ब्लड का पहले सैंपल लिया जाता है. Upon taking the sample, it was diagnosed that Mr. X, who himself is a doctor, is HIV positive. Okay. अब ये डॉक्टर साहब खुद HIV पॉजिटिव निकले. अब क्या नेक्स्ट होता है? He being a HIV positive person, obviously his blood cannot be donated. Basic thing. And then other doctors of hospital Z immediately started his treatment. है ना, अगर वो HIV है तो उनका ट्रीटमेंट करना पड़ेगा. आइसोलेट कर दिया गया और उनका ट्रीटमेंट स्टार्ट हो गया. नाउ मीनवाइल, फियांसे ऑफ मिस्टर एक्स केम टू द हॉस्पिटल. वो तो लड़की रोज की तरह मिलने आई अपने फियांसे को. अब इन्होंने नहीं बताया कि मैं HIV पॉजिटिव हूँ, कुछ भी नहीं बताया. एंड द गर्ल केप्ट कमिंग. नाउ वन डॉक्टर फ्रॉम हॉस्पिटल Z one day out of curiosity asked this girl, आप जानते हैं, पहले तो उन्होंने पूछा आप इनसे क्यों मिलने आते हैं. सो व्हेन ही सेड दैट आई कम हियर, व्हेन शी सेड आई कम हियर टू मीट Mr. X because he is my fiance and we are going to get married in the recent future. The doctor from hospital Z was shocked. क्यों? क्योंकि उसे पता था कि भाई ये बंदा तो HIV पॉजिटिव है और लड़की तो बोल रही कि हमें शादी करनी है. So then immediately, doctor from hospital Z spontaneously said, oh, are you not aware? He is HIV positive. Now listening to this, ultimate reaction क्या रहेगा? Break off. No girl will marry a man who is HIV positive. So she broke off the relation. Now when she broke off the relation, Mr. X filed a case against hospital Z challenging violation of his right to privacy. You all are learned academicians and you all are aware that the Indian Constitution attributes right to privacy under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution to all of us. And there is always something known as privilege of communication between doctor and patient. And this Mr. X felt that his privilege of communication was broken, his trust was broken. He was, क्या जरूरत थी बताने की कि मैं HIV पॉजिटिव हूँ? ये तो डॉक्टर और पेशेंट के बीच की बात है. मेरी तो शादी टूट गई. So he filed a writ petition challenging his violation of right to privacy. Now what was the contention on part of the state? This is very beautiful. Contention on part of the state was that there is no violation of right to privacy here because there was a question of right to life. आप समझ रहे हैं बात को? मिस्टर एक्स की राइट टू प्राइवेसी वायलेट हुई थी, लेकिन अगर लड़की की शादी हो जाती तो लड़की की जिंदगी वायलेट हो जाती. Isn't it? When you marry a person with HIV positive and after marriage, if they are going to have intercourse, AIDS is a sexually communicable disease and the girl would have immediately got AIDS and would have lost her life. Now, here was a case before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held that right to privacy is a fundamental right. Right to life is also a fundamental right. At the same time, it is a human right. The Supreme Court or the judges of the court cannot be a mere spectators to protect the right to privacy of Mr. X and put the girl's life at risk, that we don't care for your life. So this was a conflict between right to privacy and right to life, wherein the Supreme Court said the human right jurisprudence of all the fundamental rights is still alive. And considering the larger human rights perspective, we can say that there is no violation of right to privacy and the girl deserves to live her life. And therefore, breaking of marriage or informing by the hospital Z is not a crime committed by the hospital. There is no violation of right in this particular case on part of the boy. So like this, there are many cases. We may not have that much time to discuss these as we have a lot of other things to discuss. But yes, we have one from Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration. ये भी बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस है नॉन लॉ लोगों के लिए. Law people, they study this as students, so they know it very well. Now, in Sunil Batra's case, this was a case from Tihar jail where one jailer was used to demand money from the inmates. अब आप लोग सोचोगे कि मैडम जेल में कैसे पैसे मांग सकते हैं जेलर. जो लॉ बैकग्राउंड से नहीं होते हैं उन्हें इस बात की कोई खबर नहीं होती है कि जेल में भी कैदी लोग कमाई करते हैं. सो इन जेल्स देर आर डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स. लाइक अगर मैं कहती हूँ और मैं चपाती बना रही हूँ तो मुझे 40 रुपया रोज मिलता है. अगर मैं गार्डनिंग कर रही हूँ तो मुझे 50 रुपया रोज मिलता है. सो डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ वर्क इज पेड. ओके, सो ऑल इनमेट्स इन द जेल आर पेड फॉर द वर्क दे डू. Of course, the money is deposited in their accounts. Relatives come and they give money to the prisoners because they have a canteen. एक छोटा सा कैंटीन, एक डेली कमोडिटी का शॉप होता है जेल में, जहां से कैदी लोग खरीद सकते हैं. जैसे चिप्स मिलते हैं या पाउडर मिलता है या कोई भी क्रीम, ऐसी छोटी छोटी चीजें. एक छोटा सा कैंटीन शॉप होता है जेल में जहां से खरीद सकते हैं. खरीदने के लिए पैसे तो चाहिए, है ना? And there are ways of getting money in the jail. One, the inmate works. Two, the relatives send money order. Okay, so there is money. Point क्या है कि पैसा कैसे आता है इस तरह से. Now suppose in this particular case what had happened is the jailer from Tihar jail, ये तिहाड़ जेल का केस है, he demanded money from the inmates and one of the inmate refused to give him money saying जा नहीं देता. Because he said every day this guy comes and he takes money. Why should I give money? Now the jailer got annoyed. Jailer का तो ego hurt हो गया ना भाई, कैसे पैसे नहीं दे रहा है. So what he did is he took a iron baton and with the iron baton he cut off the anus of the prisoner. आप सोच सकते हैं कि किसी मर्द का एनस कट करने के बाद कितना खून बहा होगा, कितनी तकलीफ हुई होगी. Okay. Now after this inhuman act, this entire episode is written on a 50 paisa postcard letter, the small one which earlier we had, and the postcard is sent directly to Supreme Court, addressed to Supreme Court, Bhagwan Das Road, New Delhi. The letter reaches Justice Bhagwati's table. Justice Bhagwati, one of the most renowned judge which India has ever had, as equally with Justice Krishna Iyer. I mean, these were the two judges who hold a very high name in India when it comes to social justice. जस्टिस कृष्णा अय्यर एक थे और जस्टिस भगवती। ये दोनों ने जो हमारे देश में पीआईएल का कॉन्सेप्ट है, जनहित याचिका जिसे हम कहते हैं, उस कॉन्सेप्ट को बहुत बढ़ावा दिया है और बहुत सारे सोशल लेजिस्लेशंस किए हैं। जस्टिस कृष्णा अय्यर, I always say, was a judiciary in himself. I had the pleasure to meet Justice Krishna Iyer because Justice Krishna Iyer has given forward to one of my book on euthanasia, and I met him on his 100th birthday. So these were very different people, and Justice Bhagwati treated this postcard letter as a writ petition, habeas corpus writ जिसे law में कहा जाता है. Upon reading these details, of course, immediately the jailer was suspended. There was a notification issued throughout the country. No inmate should be tortured by any jail because the jail people in the jail may have committed an offense and therefore they are in the jail, but they are still human beings. They still have their human rights. And considering the human rights jurisprudence, Supreme Court held that no person can violate human rights to this extent. So there are many cases, Nirbhaya gang rape case, a very ironical situation which had occurred in the year 2012. As we all know, 6th December 2012, Nirbhaya was gang raped. Entire country was knocked down with candle marches. है ना? हर जगह candle march था. What was so inhuman? I mean, why do we discuss these cases when we talk about human rights? Nirbhaya was gang raped in a moving bus. We all know that. What was so inhuman? It was a gang rape. And secondly, my friends, something which was beyond imagination of a human act. An iron rod was inserted in Nirbhaya's vagina and her intestines were pulled out. मैं जब भी ये केस बताती भी हूँ तो मेरे रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं. किसी महिला के वजीना में आयरन रॉड इंसर्ट करके उसकी इंटेस्टाइन्स बाहर निकालना इन इटसेल्फ इज अ वेरी 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 मॉन्स्ट्रस एक्ट. शायद ही कोई इंसान कर पाए. एंड देयरफॉर वी टर्म इट एज अ ग्रॉस वायलेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स. Nirbhaya could have survived. Nirbhaya could have survived the injury and the agony of the rape, but she could not survive the injury caused to her intestines because of the iron piece. Nirbhaya की मृत्यु बलात्कार से नहीं हुई. निर्भया की मृत्यु हुई है उस इन्फेक्शन से जो वो आयरन रॉड की वजह से हुई थी. So these are all examples of human rights violations. Now, when we know
Madam,
that
same happened Khairlanji.
yes, yes, there are numerous examples, madam. If we want to cite, you can take example of Priyanka Reddy's rape, which took place in Hyderabad. You can take example of Akshardhan Temple. You can take example of the recent during lockdown, which happened in Lucknow. You can take example of, I mean, there is one very significant issue which goes on that should a rape culprit, rape accused be granted bail. Now here it happened that the accused was granted bail. The accused came out on bail. The next day he went to the victim's house. He poured acid on her and he burnt the girl alive. He was again arrested. But what is the use? The girl is already died. So when we say we have violations, my question is, if we are civilized, have we reduced violations? No, my friends. More civilization, more education, more globalization, more crimes, more violations of human rights. Before I start with protection, let me also take you to the Russia-Ukraine war. How many human rights violations? What are the governments and the countries aiming at? आप मेरे जैसे लोगों को क्या करना है बताइए? We are just victims. because it is a war going on between two countries. The common public, what are they to do? Consider the examples of all the human rights violations which take place in every corner of the world. और कितने सारे होते हैं अभी तालिबान में देख लीजिए. So much of human rights violation. We talk so high. Women's equality, women's right. हमें तो एक दिन भी कोई बोलेगा कि भाई ज्यादा बात मत करो. नहीं चुप बैठ सकते है ना. The husbands will be so happy, isn't it? अगर ऐसा फरमान निकला कभी, wife can talk only, a woman who's a wife can talk only, say morning 10 to 12, and after 12 to evening 7 she cannot speak. All husbands in the country will be happy. बोलेंगे सुकून मिल गया, बीवी बात नहीं करती है. Jokes apart, my friend, but in a developing and a democratic country like ours, if anybody tells us कि नहीं आपको घर के बाहर नहीं निकलना है, आपको ये नहीं करना है, वो नहीं करना है, हम लोग नहीं मानेंगे. The ruler country we have this, but on and whole, like if you look at Taliban, what is happening for women, gross violation of human rights. Yeah, we have in India as well, but not in that scale, thankfully. So there are a lot of human rights violations. What do we have for protection of human rights violations? Well, we have the Indian Supreme Court, we have high courts, we have a special law enacted for protection of human rights, the Protection of Human Rights Act of 1993. Under this act, we have an establishment of the National Human Rights Commission, we have state commissions, we have various NGOs, and we have the society. Now my question always comes, does the society really contribute in protecting human rights? And the answer is, according to me, no. You may have your own way of looking at things, but I always feel rights are not violated by the government. Rights are not violated always by the lawmakers. Rights are mostly violated by people amongst themselves. Okay? So when there is a government agency violating your rights, you challenge it as a violation of fundamental right before the High Court or the Supreme Court. As simple as that. But otherwise, where the government is not involved, वहां तो समाज जिम्मेदार होता है. अब थोड़ी 5 मिनट हम ये डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. What is the procedure of filing a human rights complaint? Now suppose there is a human rights issue, somebody is a victim of human rights violation and you come to know about it as an academician. आज पड़ोस वाला कोई बोलेगा, अरे मैडम सर ऐसा है, इनका तो ह्यूमन राइट वायलेट हुआ है, क्या करना है? कंप्लेंट करनी है. And how do you do that? So you can lodge a complaint even online. You can write a letter or an online complaint. You must inform or lodge this complaint within 1 year from the date of the violation of your right. Okay? There are no fees, there are no charges. The complaint can be either in Hindi or in English. If it is a state commission, you can even write the complaint in the local language. For example, I'm in Maharashtra, Mumbai right now. And if the person whose human right is violated, उन्हें अगर हिंदी भी नहीं आती है, इंग्लिश भी नहीं आती है, तो वे मराठी में लिख सकते हैं. It is allowed in the state commission. But if you go to the national commission, then it has to be English or Hindi. Complaint can be in any form: letter, email, fax, telegram. The systematic way of dealing with complaints is there are members and there is a chairperson who look into these complaints. Apart from the Human Rights Act, we have the Protection of Civil Rights Act of 1955, which was enacted as one of the recent act after independence by the Indian Parliament to protect people from discrimination based on caste, religion, sex, race, place of birth, etc. And there is a list of offences which is prescribed. Untouchability, if practiced, then it is punishable under the Civil Protection Rights Act. We have the Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Act, National Women Commission, National Minorities, National Backward Classes, and the Persons of Disability. So these are some measures which are taken. Now I'm taking you through a glance of figures of complaints. How many complaints have been filed? Well, my friends, एक बात ध्यान रखिएगा, ये जो भी फिगर्स आते हैं दे आर नॉट द ट्रू एंड द करेक्ट फिगर्स. द रीजन इज मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस आर नॉट इवन रिपोर्टेड. They don't even reach that extent of reporting. Okay, so just to give you from 1993, since when the act has been enacted, we started off with only 496 complaints. जैसा साल बढ़ता गया, number of complaints बढ़ते गए. Okay, so you can see in the year 2002 to 2001 to 2, 70,000. 93 में कंप्लेन्स 500 भी नहीं थे. अभी देखिए 10 साल में हमारी कंप्लेन्स 70,000. These are complaints of human rights. As it has been increasing over the years, you can see in the year 2003 to 4, 40,000 cases were only from Uttar Pradesh, one state. Statistics can vary from side to side. This is just to make you understand that there are lot of complaints against human rights. There are a lot of violations of human rights in our country. First segment of human rights violation, as an example and point of discussion, we are going to have of human rights of women in India. The question is, are they protected? Are they violated? I am not asking because that is a matter of fact, ironically. ठीक है, अभी महिलाओं के मानवीय अधिकारों का उल्लंघन किस प्रकार होता है वो हम देखेंगे. Sadly, the human rights violation of a woman happen in various crimes: rape, dowry, prostitution, female feticide, domestic violence, sexual harassment, eve teasing, so on and so forth. There are many more than this. I'm just limiting myself on these many. I just mentioned few minutes back that in India, there are 120 rapes per day. Dowry. There are minimum 2 lakh dowry deaths every year. Prostitution, female feticides, domestic violence. If we were to be educated enough to have reduction of crimes, we wouldn't have had so many crimes, है ना? बताइए, अगर एजुकेशन ज्यादा है तो सिविलाइजेशन ज्यादा होना चाहिए, तो ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशन कम होना चाहिए, बट वैसा होता नहीं है. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू टेक यू टू वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैसेट: ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशन ऑफ women before they are born. Okay, after they are born, we are going to talk about before they are born. Female feticide. All of us being academicians are very well aware that checking the sex of the fetus is an offense in India. It is not just an offense, but it is a gross violation of human rights. Now, as you can see, the right image, आपके स्क्रीन पे अगर आप देख रहे हैं, मोबाइल हो या लैपटॉप कंप्यूटर जो भी आपके सामने है, अगर आप देख रहे हैं तो प्लीज गौर से देखिएगा. बहुत सेंसिटिव विषय है जिसे हमें बहुत ध्यान से सुनना चाहिए, सोचना चाहिए. The image which is there on your screen, my friends, is a 10-week aborted fetus, जिसके आपको छोटे छोटे हाथ और पैर खून में लथबथ दिख रहे हैं. ठीक है. Now, let me tell you that we have a law, the Prenatal Diagnostic Act in our country, which clearly says that sex detection of the fetus is a crime punishable with 10 years imprisonment and fine in the country. ठीक है, ये कानून है. On the other hand, the law attributes personality to a fetus. मतलब अगर बच्चा माँ के गर्भ में है तो उसे लॉ रिकॉग्नाइज करता है क्या? Answer is yes. If a woman is pregnant and her husband dies and a partition takes place in which a share is given only to others and not to the child because the child is not yet born. तो मान लीजिए ये बच्चा 6 महीने बाद पैदा होता है, उसके पिता का देहांत हो चुका है और पार्टीशन बच्चे के पैदा होने से पहले हो गया है. बच्चे को नेचुरली उसमें कुछ अधिकार मिला नहीं क्योंकि वो उस वक्त पैदा नहीं हुआ था. ये बच्चा पार्टीशन रीओपन करा सकता है. क्यों? क्योंकि जिस वक्त से बच्चा माँ के गर्भ में होता है उसे लॉ पर्सनैलिटी देती है, उसे अधिकार देती है. आई एम एम्फसाइजिंग दिस बिकॉज आई वॉन्ट टू you all to understand that even a fetus has life, even a fetus has personality, even a fetus has human rights. Okay? Now, when law attributes, number one, गर्भ में जब फीटस होता है उसे पर्सनैलिटी है, गर्भ में जब फीटस है उसे लीगल राइट्स है. तीसरा, there is already a law in India which does not allow detection of sex of the fetus. And fourth, we have plethora of human rights and fundamental rights for protection of the fetus. वास्तविकता में क्या होता है आप सब जानते हैं. I will discuss just one case here to make you understand कि वास्तविकता में क्या होता है. So I'm talking about a very infamous clinic of Dr. Munde at Parli, which is in Maharashtra. Okay, it is one of the district in Maharashtra. Now, this doctor, you will be surprised to know, डॉक्टर साहब क्या थे? ऑर्थोपेडिक थे. ठीक है, जो गर्भपात करते थे वो गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट नहीं थे. He was orthopedic surgeon. His wife was a gynecologist. Now, Dr. Munde and his wife Saraswati Munde both had clinic in Bid district, Parli, in Bid, Maharashtra. Now, the modus operandi of these doctors was to broadly have female feticides by sex detection. It was like a huge racket. This clinic was nationally famous for having the sex of the fetus checked and having the fetus aborted अगर वो लड़की का गर्भ है. People have been visiting this clinic from Gujarat to Calcutta and from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Okay, across the country लोग यहाँ आते थे. So obviously when so many people visit this particular clinic, the doctor will require more medicines for abortion. So the doctor did not buy it from one store, because if you buy it from one store, naturally it will be very evident that you are doing something wrong. Therefore, the doctor used to pick up the stock, some from Gujarat, some from Maharashtra, some from Rajasthan, medical का stock अलग अलग जगह से उठाते थे और बहुत ही कामली सोफिस्टिकेटेड तरीके से अपना बिजनेस चला रहे थे. One day what happened is one lady called Vaijanti Mala Patankar. Okay, this lady had 4 daughters. She was pregnant for the 5th time. 5वीं बार ये महिला गर्भवती थी. इन्हें 5वां महीना चल रहा था और ये उस जो गन्ने की खेती होती है ना, जिसे हम लोग मराठी में ऊसाची शेती, ऊस तोडी कामगार ज्याला म्हणतात मराठीमध्ये. सो ये गन्ने के कारखाने पे ये कामगार थी महिला. तो इनको इनके पतिदेव पकड़ के लाए मुंडे साहब के क्लिनिक में और बोला कि डॉक्टर साहब देखिए लड़का है कि लड़की है. मैं ऑलरेडी 4 लड़कियां है मेरे को और अभी मुझे 5वीं नहीं चाहिए. अगर लड़की है तो गिरा दो. Okay. Now, when this lady was taken to check, unfortunately, it was a girl child. And unfortunately for the woman's fate. Otherwise, I always feel having a girl child is a fortune being a woman. I'm proud to be a woman and I always feel women should be proud of their existence. So, डॉक्टर ने बताया कि लड़की है तो husband said गिरा दो. Now, this lady was very scared. She was very weak. आप सोच सकते हैं 4 लड़कियां है, एक कामगार है महिला, बेचारा क्या ही खाती होगी, बेचारी को क्या ही पोषण मिलता होगा. So she said, don't do that. I will take care of the child. Please don't do it. I will die. But the doctor and the husband, they took her on the operation theater table. थिएटर में लिया, abortion करने गए, महिला मर गई. महिला की मृत्यु हो गई. Obviously, when you try to abort a fetus where the lady has crossed 5 months, it is out of question for her to survive when she is so weak and already she has 4 girls. So the lady died, and then the media hyped the matter, and the media captured it very rightly, and Mr. Munde was immediately arrested. And then came the real story. After Mr. Munde was arrested, हर जगह का search हुआ. Friends, this is very, very sensitive to listen. When the search was conducted, around 10 fetuses, aborted fetus, टॉयलेट के टैंक्स में मिले. अराउंड 15 fetus टॉयलेट के हॉस्पिटल के गार्बेज में मिले. अराउंड 25 fetus they found at the nearby garbage. मतलब 50 fetus तो यहीं पे पूरे मिल गए. जो भी फ्रेश गर्भपात हुए थे वो गर्भ वहां पे बरामद किए गए. Now after this, the police officers went to the farm of Mr. Munde. खेत पे गए. Mr. Munde had around 3-4 German Shepherd dogs at the farm. Mr. Munde used to throw the aborted fetus as food to the dogs to wash off the evidence.
ऐकवलं जात नाही.
सांगवल्या पण जात नाही.
Yes, madam.
When this search was conducted, friends, 75 fetuses, half eaten by the dogs, were confiscated by the police officers at Munde's farm. 75 गर्भ आधे कुत्तों ने खाए हुए इनके खेत से बरामद हुए. बताते वक्त दिल हिल जाता है, सुनते वक्त भी हिलता होगा. When Mr. Munde was arrested, all the details were taken out, and you can imagine if in a day's raid the police found more than 100 fetuses, how many girls have been killed by this doctor and their parents. I don't blame the doctor alone. How did it happen? So the normal system was, suppose I'm a doctor, I don't speak anything because there are issues where people record and then you are caught. So Dr. Munde had taken due care of these things. He did not speak anything. On one side he had a photo of Ganpati ji, and on one side he had a photo of Lakshmi ji. So after the sonography was done, he would only point at the photos. अगर लड़का है तो इधर हाथ जाता, लड़की है तो इधर हाथ जाता. So they never spoke anything, but they did everything. कुछ किए बोले बिना ही सब कुछ कर गए. My friends, Dr. Munde and his wife were arrested immediately because it was all in the media. आप गूगल करोगे आप सारी केस पढ़ पाओगे. He was arrested. His bail was rejected by the Sessions Court, by the High Court, and by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court did not grant bail to Mr. Munde. He completed his punishment, 10 years in the jail, and he and his wife both came out after completing the punishment. Another similar incident was in Sangli.
Madam,
Again,
10 years also was too short punishment for them.
but that is what the law says.
Yes.
It should have been life imprisonment, the amount of girls this man has killed. And this is one example, madam. ये एक example है. ऐसे कितने डॉक्टर्स है. ये दूसरा सांगली का केस जो आप इमेज में देख रहे हो, बुलडोजर के साथ गर्भ बरामद किए गए थे. This was a case where a homeopath doctor, DHMS डॉक्टर, होम्योपैथ, बहुत बड़ा हॉस्पिटल का नाम क्या था? भारत हॉस्पिटल. This was in Sangli, and in the Bharat hospital, this man used to abort fetuses like anything. And a newly married girl who was just pregnant for 3 months, female feticide ka victim ban gayi, and that is when entire racket was bursted because the girl's parents kept on calling and there was no reply. So they came and visited the in-laws place कि आमची मुलगी कुठे आहे? कहाँ है भाई हमारी बेटी? तो वो बोले आपकी बेटी तो मायका गई. And it was the husband who took the wife to the clinic, and there she died, and the husband was with the doctor who butchered, उसके छोटे छोटे पीसेस करके उसको अलग अलग जगह पे उसकी बॉडी फेंक दी गई. हस्बैंड डर गया कि अब अगर किस्सा खुला तो मैं जेल में जाऊंगा. डॉक्टर डर गया. दोनों डरे हुए लोग मिल गए और दोनों डरे हुए ने लड़की को खीमा कर दिया. And various parts of her body were thrown around Sangli. And the whole thing was out when the parents complained. So, when we talk these things, now my point is, I'm sorry if I've made you a little bit emotional, but this is the factual situation. When we talk about human rights, we need not only think of Russia and in Ukraine. We also need to think हमारे यहाँ क्या हो रहा है, हम कैसे ह्यूमन राइट्स प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं और यहाँ किस तरह का वायलेशन होता है. सो नाउ हियर in our country, in India, despite the laws, we have more than 10 million female feticides happened in the last 20 years. इतनी महिलाओं की संख्या कम हो गई है देश से बिकॉज इन्हें मार दिया गया है. Who does this? Government? No. State? No. Who does it? You blame the doctor. But who goes to the doctor? People like you and me. If Vijayamala Patankar and her husband wouldn't have gone to Dr. Munde, he wouldn't have come your home and aborted the fetus. So before we blame somebody, we also need to see how prudent are we as citizens. Why is there so much hatred towards girl? Why is there so much discrimination against girl in this country? Where do we need to change? So my friends, whether it is female feticide, whether it is rape, whether it is sexual harassment, first thing we need to understand, if we want to protect women from violation of human rights, we need to recognize woman as a human being. We don't need to recognize woman by her gender. Gender is her identity. Okay? So she is identified as a woman. Just look at her as a woman, not as a medium of enjoyment, not as a medium of joy. So we need to respect the dignity of women. We need to see that women are equal. Now, again, taking 2 minutes of your valuable time, every woman who's listening to me just now may have experienced this in her age of maybe in her 20-22 उम्र की जब होंगे आप या अब होंगे पता नहीं. खैर मेरी तो अभी बेटी की शादी है तो मुझे तो जमाना बीत गया है. बट एक फैक्ट है लाइफ का कि आप जब 18-20 साल के हो जाते हो इंडिया में, जनरल मिडिल क्लास सोसाइटी, ओके, मिडिल क्लास सोसाइटी में ये डायलॉग, बेटा खाना बनाना सीख ले, बेटा खाना बनाना सीख ले, शादी के बाद तेको खाना बनाना पड़ेगा. एवरी गर्ल इन दिस कंट्री has heard this dialogue at her home without fail. And most of the girls even make efforts to learn cooking. Most of the girls even try to do all these things. It is very good. As girls, we must do this. But how many mothers tell this to the boys? बेटा तू खाना बनाना सीख, तेरी बीवी आएगी तो तेको कुछ बनाते आना चाहिए. नहीं बोलते हैं.
I told ma'am.
Yeah,
मैं
you told, you may be an exception. I also keep telling, I taught my daughter to make pasta omelette when she was just 9 years old, and so I taught my son also to make food when he was 9 years old. So I have done equality upbringing. The point is, we do not have equality in upbringing in our country. So somewhere as mothers, we sow the seeds of discrimination without knowing it. विदाउट नोइंग वी डिस्क्रिमिनेट. बेटी है पिंक ड्रेस पहनाओ, है ना, पिंक थीम करते हैं. लड़की हुई है पिंक, लड़का हुआ है ब्लू. बताइए कहीं बॉडी पे थप्पा है? पिंक थप्पा लगा के आई है बच्ची? नहीं है. क्या है ये पिंक और ब्लू? किसी ने सोचा है कभी? Academicians must think, why do we have these pink and blue tag marks? Why do we celebrate pink as girl and blue as boys? This is nothing. This is just a fashion craze. Nobody knows when it started. You can Google out and see. In 1917, there was a party arranged in New York. And in that party, there was a mishap and other colors were not available. So the lady, she took pink color, who was the event organizer. She took pink color, and the party was of the mayor's daughter. And she put up all balloons pink, and the whole decor was pink. And since then, people think ladki ki party hai to pink lagane ka. At that time, all models in New York had a pink dressing, जो मॉडल होते हैं कांच में. तो वहां से वो क्रेज स्टार्ट हुआ कि पिंक हो तो लड़की हो. दिस in fact discriminates. Let me tell you how it discriminates. If a boy wears a pink shirt, you immediately, क्या लड़की की तरह पिंक पहना रे तूने? Why? Why only girls can wear pink? If a boy cries, what is the common saying in India? Eh, ladki ki tarah mat ro. What do you convey? You convey that only girls can cry or boys cannot cry. Ladki ki tarah mat ro.
Even we use मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता.
These are very simple things, but they have a very, very deep impact in the society, which ultimately lead towards violation of rights. So we don't feel anything wrong when we tell our daughters to khana banana seek. But do you realize that when this girl gets married and then she goes to her in-laws place, if there is a issue, she will be tortured for not knowing how to cook. Recently we had a divorce matter at hands. आप बिलीव नहीं करोगे, लड़की ने भिंडी ठीक से नहीं काटी तो झगड़ा हो गया, और हस्बैंड बोला तेरे को भिंडी काटनी नहीं आती तो चली जा. So the point is, what are we as a society, what are we doing? We talk high about laws in our country, but I always feel, let us talk high about ourselves. What are we doing? Are we monitoring our upbringing? Are we doing equality? See, every parent out of concern tells a daughter, बेटा तू पार्टी में जा रही है, ठीक है तू जा. आजकल नहीं नहीं बोल सकते पेरेंट्स, तो जाने देते हैं. बेटा तू जा, बट एक काम कर, तू 10 बजे से पहले घर आ जा. बेटा मूवी देखने जा रही है, 10 बजे से पहले घर आ जा. So the point is, all the parents tell their daughters to come home early. None of the parents tell their sons to come early. I always put it this way. जिस दिन भारत देश में लड़कियों की जगह लड़के जल्दी घर आएंगे, भारत की लड़कियां सुरक्षित रहेंगी. Crimes which are committed against women are not committed by women. They are committed by men. So don't restrict daughters to stay indoors. Restrict the sons to come indoors before 12 in the house. Somewhere the society also has to pay attention towards the protection of human rights. In the house, the mother-in-law is the one who tortures the daughter-in-law the most, more than the father-in-law and the brother-in-law. So why is it that a woman is an enemy of a woman? Why her human rights are violated? And when we talk high about protection of human rights, these are not things which should happen only in the courtrooms or in the movies or elsewhere. This has to happen every day in the house. Gentlemen जो मुझे सुन रहे हैं, आप हमारे जैसे जो लोग होते हैं ना, द मिडिल क्लास सेक्शन, एजुकेटेड पीपल, वी फील अरे हम तो किसी के ह्यूमन राइट वायलेट नहीं करते, हम तो हर किसी की खुशी का ध्यान रखते हैं. नाउ इफ दिस वाज वन टू वन क्लास, आई वुड हैव लव टू टॉक विद ऑल ऑफ यू. मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है सबसे इंटरेक्ट करना. जितने भी जेंटलमैन मुझे सुन रहे हैं, आप में से कितने जेंटलमैन ने अपनी वाइफ्स को चाय बना के दी है रोज सुबह उठ के? और आप में से कितने जेंटलमैन की वाइफ्स या माँ रोज आपको चाय कॉफी बना के देती है? I know the answers. I'm just putting a question for your thought. That when we say we don't violate human rights, do we even try to give the joy of human rights? See, every man, don't tell me about the lockdown stories. हाँ, मुझे पता है लॉकडाउन में बहुत से हस्बैंड्स ने, बहुत से बेटों ने बहुत कारनामे किए हैं किचन में जाके, और फिर गाली खाई है, डांट खाई है कि तू जा बाहर, हम हमारा निपट लेंगे. During lockdown, when the maids were not there, most of the husbands tried to enter the kitchen. हम कुछ बनाते हैं, वो डबल हेडेक हो गया था वाइफ को किचन साफ करते करते. So I'm not on that point. I'm on the point that when we expect a wife or a mother or a sister to give us this glass of water or a cup of tea every day, how many men in Indian society reciprocate and feel कि चल मैं एक महीना मैं तेरे लिए रोज कॉफी चाय बनाता हूँ? Very few, and I know the answer. I'm not asking for it. I'm just giving you food for thought कि भाई सोचो, आप भी सोचो कहीं हम ह्यूमन राइट्स प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं क्या? ह्यूमन राइट्स आर नॉट ओनली decorated words in the Universal Declaration. They are real living things which each one of us can take responsibility. So when we discuss about rape as a gross violation of human rights, it is not just a crime against one lady who becomes a victim. It is a crime against the whole society. आप ऐसे समाज का हिस्सा हो जहां पे ये सब होता है, तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? I'm going to come at the end on that point, that as academicians, what can we do? So rape is something which is a forcible sexual intercourse on a woman by one or more men. If it is more, it becomes a gang rape. So we have seen in the movie Pink, when a lady says no, it means no. But when it is a rape, nobody asks you a permission and it is a forcible intercourse. And the person does not become a victim of violation of her right to liberty, but she becomes a victim of violation of her dignity. So today, the rapes have been increased year by year, and there are various causes, which one of them, as I just said, discrimination. हम बचपन से इस तरह से लड़कियों को लड़कों को बड़ा करते हैं कि हमें एक अलग सोसाइटी बन गई है आज। ये देखिए, ये जो न्यूज़पेपर आर्टिकल्स है, ये हाथरस का गैंग रेप है, फिर ये साउथ दिल्ली का गैंग रेप है. सो एवरी डे व्हेन यू ओपन द न्यूज़पेपर यू सी दीज काइंड ऑफ images, you see these kind of cases. Well, the present scenarios, the number of cases, this is not even required to be discussed because it is more bothering for the heart and the mind to understand that these are the number of cases. So the number of cases every year have been increasing. Cases for rape, I mean, have been increasing. Tell me, why does this happen? Well, it is an interconnected problem. It is not one. Why do we have rape, if I ask you, or why do we have overall violation of human rights of women? First and foremost, it is a patriarchal society. In this society, we have had a lot of male domination. Lack of education, lack of empowerment of women, lack of awareness, extreme lack of ethical and moral values. Influx of social media, misuse of social media, and the discrimination. We have so many laws which aim to protect human rights of women, which aim to protect fundamental rights of women. But the social attitudes bring a barrier. Now, how does this happen? I will take up in the next segment, because here it's 4:25. I will take a pause and I'll give you some eye-opening examples to make us understand and realize as to why does it happen that we become victims of human rights violation. So if there are any questions till this point, quickly in 5 minutes we can take before we break for tea. Anybody has any questions till this point? आप पूछ सकते हैं, provided आप सुन रहे हैं. Yes, are you all there?
यस मैम.
यस मैम.
यस मैम, क्वेश्चंस बहुत है लेकिन लास्ट में हम चर्चा करेंगे मैम.
अच्छा जी, लास्ट में करेंगे, चलो कोई बात नहीं. और जाने से पहले आप सबको जिसको जिसको पॉसिबल होगा वीडियोस भी ऑन करने पड़ेंगे. हम वर्चुअली तो मिल ले आप लोगों से,
स्पॉट लग जाएगा
है ना?
एसीला सुट्टी होती.
यस मैम.
फॉर्म भरले होते 5-6 जणांना.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
आपल्या बोळीने भरला होता, शंकरच्या
ओके.
पोरानं भरला होता.
ऑलराइट. फॉर्म कोणी कोणी भरले होते सर?
इकडे कुंड्याच्या पोरानं 2 लाख रुपये देऊन ते झाला.
2 लाख रुपए देऊन कशाचे फॉर्म भरले? Now he is muted. Okay. All right. Anyways, we take a break, friends. For how much break do you have here? For 10 minutes or 5 minutes? क्या routine है आपका?
10 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay. So it's 4:30, 4:27 precisely. So we will be back at 4:37. ठीक है?
ओके मैम।
ओके मैम,
Okay,
ओके मैम, ओके,
okay,
थैंक यू।
okay. Have your tea, coffee. Thank you so much. तुम्हाला स्टेटस दिसतं का माझं? नाही वाटत दिसत. हे बघ, आमची छोटी Welcome back, everybody. All are back. झालं चहा पाणी घेऊन?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many are out of Maharashtra here?
मैं
I am from Karnataka, ma'am.
You are from
from
Karnataka. Which
Bihar.
place? Yes.
I am from Bihar में
You're from Bihar. Which place from Bihar?
मधुबनी.
Okay, nice. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from UP.
Okay, yes. Sir is from UP. Khan sir, right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from UP and born and brought up in Ayodhya.
अरे वाह, बड़ी अच्छी बात है. Okay. Anybody else? Only
मैम
3
घर के
people?
मुर्गों को भी पूछिए ना,
हाँ जी.
घर के मुर्गों के बारे में भी पूछिए.
नहीं पूछते ना, पहले बाहर के देख लेते ना.
Okay.
महाराष्ट्र के बाहर के कितने हैं वो तो जान ले, फिर महाराष्ट्र के आ
Okay.
रहे. महाराष्ट्र के 4 ही है आउट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र. आप बताइए मैम, आप कहाँ से है? रोल
Ma'am,
नंबर
I'm
40.
from Aurangabad.
Okay.
And I'm professor in Government Engineering College, Aurangabad. Physics
Okay.
professor.
Okay. Where do you stay at Aurangabad?
It's near Poddar International School.
All right. Okay. Nice. Aurangabad is my hometown.
Yeah. We can
Anybody?
connect.
Certainly.
So,
I keep
madam,
connected with everybody. I love
madam,
being connected with people.
Yeah.
madam,
That
Ah.
reflects through your personality, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
madam, I'm from Mumbai and I'm at B.Ed college right now. So we have gender, school and society subject. And in that
Okay.
subject, we almost touch all these points that you just explained.
Very
And
good.
actually, it is the what we call awakening subject for B.Ed students.
Yes. In fact, ma'am, this should be a subject taught properly in the schools. And
Yes,
we
ma'am.
as teachers should not shy away from discussing things. Like it's not the era when we see a sanitary napkin ad going on the television and we change the
Yes.
channel and we say, kuch nahi, ja.
Yeah.
No, we have to be more proactive and teach children. We have to
Yes.
teach each other to respect the genders.
Yes.
So,
Actually, I have a 13-year son, and he is listening my each and every lecture, and now also he is listening yours. He's asking me many questions. So we have gender equality at home. My husband is doing all household, though he is
Very
an
good.
engineer, and his son is following.
Very good. That should be the spirit. But
Yes.
but sadly, so we are just 1% of the
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
society,
yeah.
maybe. Because I always say around 78% population resides in rural India. We, the urban people, are just 22%. So people residing in rural India is a different life.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I'm connected with villages, I go and I do a little bit of social work for them. I don't call it social work, but yes, whatever I can give back to the society. We at times sit under the mango trees in the village with 10, 20 girls, women. We explain them why you should educate, why you should not drop out after 10th standard, why parents should not force the daughter to get married. 10वीं होगी इसकी शादी कर दो. So we do these things, like that's all what we as academicians can do and give back to the society.
Exactly, ma'am.
Yes. Any gentleman would like to introduce himself? All gentlemen are absolutely not talking. Yes, sir.
I'm Chandrakant Desai from Radhabai Kale Mahila Mahavidyalay, Ahmednagar.
Ahmednagar.
Assistant professor in English.
Okay. Right. Ahmednagar is also a nice place. Nice. Happy to meet all of you. Let's continue with the session further, and we stop at 5:30, and I will take your questions. I'll be very happy to take your questions. So then, there is proper discussion which happens. I will once again share. There is one message in the chat box. There is tea break. It will start at 3:37 p.m. Typo error tha, shayad 4:47 tha. Okay, chalo. So let's go back to our PPT. Okay, is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes.
So this is where we stopped. The reasons in increase of various crimes or violations of human rights of women. So we had a discussion that these are all points, like we have patriarchal society, male domination, etc., etc. I'll just give you another example. Despite being so much advancement, education back up in the country, still where we have to change is our mindset. And nothing will change unless the mindset changes. So, a simple example, suppose a husband goes to a nearby medical store. ओके, एनी हस्बैंड मिडिल क्लास मेडिकल स्टोर पे जाता है बंदा, और बंदा बोलता है भाई मुझे जरा विस्पर सैनिटरी नैपकिन देना। आप इमेजिन कीजिए ये सिचुएशन को। एक आदमी गया है मेडिकल स्टोर पे, आजू बाजू लोग हैं, वो उसको बोलता है मुझे विस्पर सैनिटरी नैपकिन देना। जो इंसान बाजू में खड़ा है ना, वो ऐसे देखता है एकदम। जो सर्व कर रहा है ना, ही ऑल्सो लुक्स लाइक अ सेंटर शॉक। ओ व्हाट हैज हैपेंड, what is this man talking about? So everybody in the medical store kind of looks at the person with a very different look. What have you asked for? Okay, the person buys it and he comes home. Now if the same man goes to a liquor shop, okay, दारू की दुकान पे जाते हैं और बोलते हैं कि भाई एक विस्की की बोतल देना। Now again there are people around him, there is a shopkeeper who gives him, आजू बाजू वाले लोग ऐसा लुक नहीं देते हैं, सामने वाला भी उसको लुक नहीं देता है। पॉइंट इज, आस्किंग फॉर अ बॉटल ऑफ लिकर which is injurious to your health, which may ruin your liver, the society, that is the people around you, have no problem. दारू का बॉटल मांगा है, दे देने का है, there is no problem. Okay, but if the same man goes to a medical store, asks for a sanitary napkin, everybody looks at him as if, oh, what is wrong with him? This is the point of our social attitude. Keep the laws in the book. Laws are in the book. Okay, fine. They are beautiful. They are wonderful pieces of literature. But what comes to your rescue? In the reality, the social attitude. Now, the social attitude here is like this. जो चीज वाइफ की हेल्थ के लिए जरूरी है, मेंस्ट्रुअल हेल्थ के लिए सैनिटरी नैपकिन लेने कोई आता है, उसको तुम घूरते हो कि भाई तू क्या कर रहा है, कैसा बेशरम आदमी है. That is what the look conveys. But if the person buys a daru bottle, there is no issue in the society. Similar thing, if a teenager or a person adult goes to a medical store and buys a condom, first of all, people don't openly come and buy condoms because they feel इसमें शर्म आती है. You feel it is a crime to ask for a condom in the medical store? Now the same teenager goes on a pan tapri and consumes pan, gutka. Nobody feels ashamed about it. Unfortunately, there are many things in India, Indian attitude, where we feel shy for correct things and we are absolutely shameless for wrong things. Now, had India being little matured and understood the utility of condoms, maybe we wouldn't have been the most populous country, exploding with population and exploding with problems. We would have had a control of population wherein India was the first country to start with family planning programs in the year 1952. Yet they could not be implemented properly, and so India has become the most populous nation, overtaking China. The problem is not what laws we have. The problem is what mindset we have. So we have to correct our mindset. We have to sow the seeds of equality. We have to sow the seeds of respect, human values and ethics, which is at the core of human rights. Human rights violate तब होते हैं जब आप किसी की dignity violate करते हो, किसी का respect violate करते हो. So no book can teach you these things. I always say that law comes in picture when there is violation of law. है ना? Law कब आता है? जब कोई गलत कार्य हो जाता है. So your outer conduct. Suppose now I pick up this glass and I throw on the laptop. It is a wrong act. When I throw this, there is an action. After doing the action, then law will come in picture. But before I throw this glass, my inner conscious is important. My inner content in the mind. What should I do with the glass? Should I throw it on somebody's head or should I just keep it on the table? Law will not come in picture if my inner conscious is correct. This is a very deep philosophy, my friends, which is the base of law as well. Because law is politics at one end and philosophy at the other end. So if my thoughts are good, I normally respect the dignity of individuals. And I always say, and that is in fact not only I say, there are many philosophers who have even said this, that one thought creates a word, one word creates an action, one action creates reputation, reputation creates destiny. So destiny is dependent on one thought. So whatever you become in life is what you think. Therefore, thinking is the cause where you can control the violation of human rights. Now, with this, we move towards the second section of violation of human rights of children. Undoubtedly, we live in a different world today where somewhere there is a mixed feeling that India has the maximum youth population, a thing to be proud. But question ये है कि हमारे youth कर क्या रहे हैं, है ना? Now let's go back to the childhood of the youth, my friends. India hosts the maximum child labor in the world. More than 44 million children are child labor in our country. And what are they doing? They are busy doing things like working in cement industries, metal industries, glass industries, carpet industries, etc., etc. So it is indeed a phase to be proud of, that India hosts maximum child youth population. But at the same time, question ये है कि भाई कर क्या रहे हैं, है ना? हमारी आगे की पीढ़ी उज्जवल होने के लिए हमारे देश के बच्चे कर क्या रहे हैं? So we always feel to eradicate child labor because child labor is one of the gross violation of human rights. So eradication of child labor is must, and there are various provisions like the Constitution Article 21A, which talks about right to education. Education is looked upon as one of the most important segment to uplift life of an individual. So Constitution Article 21A, 45, 51A and K. All these provisions make a point that a child must be given education. So free and compulsory education is one of the legal provisions enshrined as a fundamental right and a directive principles in our constitution. So the statistics which I say कि 44 million बच्चे है या 42 million बच्चे child labor है, I always feel these figures are not correct. And the reason why I feel so is because most of the cases are not reported. है ना? So in India, even till date, we have 53% habitations which do not have primary schools. Despite the fact that Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was a motto of 2015. You all will agree with me. We do not have 100% literacy. लिटरेसी परसेंट हम सब जानते हैं, सर्व शिक्षा अभियान के तहत कहा गया था कि ये 100% होगा, बट ये नहीं है. So as of now, again, different sites. 1 minute, slide is hanged. Yeah. Different websites give you different statistics. Like it shows male literacy 70%, female literacy 60%. Some show male literacy 80%, female literacy 70%. Anyways, what are the international conventions which are enacted to protect the human rights of children? ठीक है? अब बच्चों के मानवीय अधिकारों का उल्लंघन मोस्टली कहाँ होता है? When they are forced to be child laborers. So we have the Convention on Rights of Child, which was way back in the year 1989. We have the Constitution of India, which under Article 15 subclause 3 says special provisions for women and children. फिर शिक्षा का अधिकार है 21A के तहत, Children should not be used for trafficking, मतलब बच्चों से भीख मंगवाना या बच्चों का trade, which we call as the fresh trade, is not permissible. So when we say बच्चों से भीख नहीं मंगवाना है, अभी आप किसी भी सिग्नल पे चले जाइए, आपको 2-4 बच्चे तो भीख मांगते मिल ही जाएंगे. Now who tells them? Parents. Parents tell them, जा भीख मांग के लेके आ, खाएगा क्या, जा. So the society has a lot of role to play in protection of human rights, is my point. We have right to free and education as a law. We have Juvenile Justice Protection Act, मतलब बाल गुनाहगार अगर होते हैं तो उनके लिए. Now, apart from children, another segment which we will quickly discuss is the human rights of senior citizens. Okay, I have taken only these 3-4 because due to time constraint इससे ज़्यादा areas हम नहीं cover कर सकते हैं. So I'll be covering women, then I'm covering children, senior citizens and LGBT. तो इतना ही cover कर पाएंगे. Otherwise, there are many vulnerable sections which can be discussed. Now, taking into consideration violation of human rights of senior citizens. सबसे पहले मैं आपको एक पुरानी प्रोवर्ब जिसे हम कहते हैं कहावत है या जो मान्यता है, मातृ पितृ देवो भव, है ना. कहा जाता था ना, मातृ पितृ देवो भव. कहना तो आज भी चाहिए, बट दुर्भाग्य की बात है कि नहीं कहा जाता है. This Sanskrit proverb, which reflects the culture of the country. Okay, it has nothing to do with any religion. This is just the way of life, which was also a part of the Vedas and the Upanishads, where parents were respected next to God. है ना? Matru Pitru Devo Bhava. Now, what is the scenario of this Matru Pitru Devo Bhava? We talk about India. So, when you look at the global picture, most of the developed countries, as per them, what is the definition of a senior citizen or an older person? So there, mostly age 65 to 67 is considered as older age. In India, any person who is 60 above, 60 साल के बाद हम उन्हें ज्येष्ठ नागरिक घोषित कर देते हैं, बराबर? So we have 60 years plus. And the elderly are often found vulnerable and neglected. So many countries have many laws. Now, if we think about India, what is the situation in India? So let us first understand, why do we call somebody a senior citizen? So basically, aging एक बहुत ही natural transition है life का. जैसे धीरे 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 उम्र बढ़ती है, हम बचपन से बड़े होते हैं, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 साल के होते हैं. So there are various factors which keep changing in life. And what are the major concerns which come up with the age? Healthcare, our living conditions, our nutrition, our mobility, our dependency, and all these factors impact the life of an individual who's a senior citizen. So if I consider the census of 2011, the population of 60 plus people was around 8.6% in India, which was a larger population. Well, today, India has around 11% senior citizens in the country. Now, when we say that we are developing, we are yet not a developed nation, though a couple of days back, the government has claimed that India will be a developed nation by 2047. फिलहाल तो हम developing वाली नैया में तैर रहे हैं. What is the development versus disrespect? जैसे मैंने स्टार्टिंग में 1-2 एग्जाम्पल्स डिस्कस किए. एक एग्जाम्पल में जहां हमने देखा कि किसान इतना गरीब है फिर भी उसकी उम्मीदें कम है ना, दहेज लेने के लिए जो गैर कानूनी है. शर्मा जी हमारे बैंड्रा में रहते हैं, इतने अमीर है, बट एक्सपेक्टेशन भी उतनी ही बड़ी है. Now, when you say you are developed and you're educated, are you supposed to have disrespect towards the elders? Answer is of course no, but a reality. This is a very, very dark and a scaring reality that today more education has somewhere told people to reduce their respect towards others. And in fact, I always feel, as I just told you a couple of minutes back, that I'm a author of positive thoughts and books. I always believe attitude if one wants, then gratitude is the best attitude. Principally, in life, every day when we open our eyes, we should be so grateful to God. We should be so grateful to God that we have opened our eyes today. Isn't it? Because I don't know if you are aware, every day there are 5 million people on this planet who don't open their eyes. Death rate क्या है पता है आप लोगों को? पता कीजिए. जो लोग बहुत निगेटिव सोचते हैं या जो लोग बहुत क्रिप करते हैं, होते हैं ना ऐसे हमारे प्रोफेशन में भी, कि क्या ये उसको ही काम देते हैं, यही टीचर को देते हैं, मेरा कैस का प्रमोशन नहीं हो रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, वो नहीं हो रहा है, ये सारी एक्टिविटीज मेरे ही सर मार दी है, मैं ही क्यों स्पोर्ट्स का देखूं, वो सारे एक्टिविटीज उसको नहीं देते, ये सारे कॉन्फ्रेंसेस मुझे ही करने हैं, सेमिनार मुझे ही करना है, मुझे ही पेपर करेक्शन करने हैं, सुपरविजन करना है. आई एम सो ओवरबर्डन्ड. है ना? Many of us say this. Many of us feel. I'll tell you, my friends, two things apart from the human rights session for your own personal development. Remember, you are very fortunate if you open your eyes. Rest things come much later because there are people on this planet who don't open their eyes. ठीक है? तो सबसे पहले जब आंख खुलती है ना सुबह, thank God that you are alive and thank him every day. It's not a joke because without his wish, you will not open your eyes next day. Secondly, when we have this sulking attitude, that the sulking attitude, and I know when I said these things, आप लोगों में से जितने भी लोग मुझे सुन रहे, 36 का फिगर है यहाँ पे, 34 participants होंगे, one might be the administrative staff of university and one may be I. 34 में से even 14 लोग भी अगर मुझे सुन रहे हैं, तो आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ यू मे हैव कोरिलेटेड विथ व्हाट आई सेड. प्रमोशन नहीं हो रहा है, फाइल नहीं आ रही है, कमिटी नहीं हो रही है, स्पोर्ट्स करने हैं, सुपरविजन करना है, असेसमेंट करना है, पेपर सेटिंग करना है, and we feel frustrated and we feel there are so many obstacles in my life, there is so much to do, why I am only to do, why should I always, all problems in my life. Friends, you know something, if you drop a dead body in the water, the dead body flows with the current of the water. जिधर पानी जाएगा ना, उधर ये डेड बॉडी जाएगी. But if you want to swim across the current of the water, you have to move your hands. And we are alive. If we have difficulties, we have to move our hands. We have to keep swimming against the current of the water. इतना ही याद रखिए, मुश्किलें जिंदगी में आती है, वो इस बात का प्रतीक है कि आप जिंदा हो. वो इस बात का प्रतीक है कि आप जिंदा हो. वरना लोग तो मुर्दे के लिए रास्ता छोड़ देते हैं, है ना? So when a dead body has to go, it goes automatically. It's only when you are alive. So first, thank God that you are alive. Second, think that because you are alive, you have difficulties, and because you are alive, you can fight against them. Otherwise, you are as good as a dead body. This attitude develops respect in you. Why am I giving you these examples? To make you understand कि आज respect कहाँ खो गया है ना? याद कीजिए, एक जमाना था जब हम बच्चे थे, हम टीचर्स को कैसे विश करते थे? वी यूज्ड टू स्टैंड अप, गुड मॉर्निंग टीचर, so nicely. Nowadays, in school that happens. In colleges, I don't know about district colleges, but in Mumbai, let me tell you, not a single student ever wishes good morning, good evening to any teacher. All they do is, hi ma'am, what's up ma'am? So even saying hi and WhatsApp is an obligation for the teacher, I believe. ये रिस्पेक्ट का फंडा जो है, ये बहुत जरूरी है. Because there is no respect in our behavior, it also has reached the disrespect of the senior citizens. So, moving ahead, why are we disrespecting senior citizens? The reason is, my friends, overall the culture, overall the lifestyle has changed. So, is it that there are no laws? There are. Well, there are. Internationally, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 protects every individual, and so are the senior citizens protected. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, there was a special conference for aging people in the year 1982 because people realized कि भाई एजिंग बढ़ गया है, लाइफ स्पैन बढ़ गया है ना, तो सीनियर सिटीजन्स बढ़ गए हैं एंड डिसरिस्पेक्ट भी बढ़ गया है अनफॉर्चुनेटली. So there was an action plan in the Madrid conference in the year 2002, and it guaranteed promotion of health and welfare of senior citizens. More so, the United Nations came up with various principles of independence, participation, care, fulfillment, dignity, and all these things. Then there was a total plan for aging, and it rotated around the importance of protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms of elderly people. It also protected the empowerment of older people with participation in the day-to-day life. सी क्या होता है ना, इंसान रिटायर हो जाता है तो उसको ये फीलिंग आता है कि मैं अभी यूजलेस बन गया हूँ या बन गई हूँ. या सो अरे आपको कहाँ जाना है अभी, आप तो घर पे हो ना पापा, रुको रुको पहले मुझे ब्रेकफास्ट करने दो. या अरे पापा आपका क्या है, आप बाद में अखबार पढ़ो यार, मैं काम पे जा रहा हूँ, आप तो घर पे ही हो. These statements are very easy for the children to say, but it hurts the parents. It disrespects them totally. There are instances where they feel left out for the reason being not inculcated or not making them a part of the family. So senior citizens have various laws, like in United States, there is a social security program. There is a federal age determination act which provides maintenance to the senior citizens. In fact, the China, which was the most populous country because before ours, also has a specific law for protecting senior citizens. Then there are laws like protection of rights, general principles of civil laws, and also some assistance is provided by the states to the senior citizens. India आते हैं. What is the situation in India? Yes, the Constitution of India does provide. It gives right to equality, it gives right to shelter, dignity, etc. We have the directive principles also of the state policy. We have the fundamental duties. We have Human Rights Protection Act. We have Protection of Domestic Violence Act for women. We have the Code of Civil Procedure. We have Hindu maintenance. Under these laws, senior citizens are also protected because under maintenance, देखो क्या होता है कभी कि पेरेंट्स को मेंटेन नहीं करना होता है बच्चों को, लाइक दे से अभी पापा आपका तो हो गया यार, बस अभी मैं मेरी फैमिली संभालू या आपको देखो. सो व्हाट इफ अ सन रिफ्यूजेस टू मेंटेन हिज पेरेंट्स और अ डॉटर रिफ्यूजेस टू मेंटेन हर पेरेंट्स? So there is a law called the Criminal Procedure Code under which we can file an application for maintenance against the son. अगर कोई बेटा बोल रहा है कि मैं तुमको पैसा नहीं देता या मैं तुम्हारा ध्यान नहीं रखता, क्या कर सकते हैं पेरेंट्स? They can file a case, they can file an application for maintenance. Then under Hindu Adoption Act also elderly parents are to be maintained. Then under Muslim law, Parsi law, all personal laws, Hindu law, all laws have a component. Now, these are all other laws. India has enacted a special law called as the Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007. यहाँ थोड़ा गौर से सुनिएगा जो भी सुन रहे हैं. हमने थोड़ी देर पहले कहा मातृ पितृ देवो भव, करेक्ट? इफ मातृ पितृ व देवो भव, then why did we need this law? भाई बताइए. The sad part of life is, of our development, there's always a darker side. No, development is a very good thing, but there is a darker side also. And what is the darker side? The darker side is that unfortunately today we are educated, but we do not consider parents as matru pitru devo bhava. Forget, don't consider them next to God. At least consider them human beings. At least consider them your elders. Respect their human rights. Respect their dignity. That is all what is expected from children. But sadly, it was realized that there are many crimes happening against senior citizens, and therefore even a country like India, which believed Matru Pitru Deva Bhava, had to enact a law for maintenance and welfare of parents and senior citizens. क्योंकि जमाना बदल गया है. एक 4 लाइन सुनाती हूँ आपको जो दिल के बहुत करीब है, इस सिचुएशन से जो मिलती है. हर अनाथ आश्रम में पाए जाते हैं गरीबों के बच्चे. हर अनाथ आश्रम में पाए जाते हैं गरीबों के बच्चे. दुर्भाग्य की बात यह है कि हर वृद्धाश्रम में पाए जाते हैं, हर वृद्धाश्रम में पाए जाते हैं अमीरों के माँ बाप. What is the contradiction? So in every orphanage house, you will find children who are surrendered, who are dropped, given away by parents because they do not have means to upbring the children. But in every old age home, you will find parents who are dropped because the children don't want the parents. It's not that they don't have money. It's not that they are poor. They are rich, but they cannot maintain the parents. Well, this law establishment of old age homes for destitute persons, there are many issues where property is a major issue. Maintenance, care, medicines, protection. Parents feel disgusted when they are treated badly by children, and therefore the law now says that every son, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, a daughter, all 4 are liable to maintain the parents. So earlier this law did not include a son-in-law. पहले दामाद को इसमें include नहीं किया था, केवल बेटा और बेटी पे ही बोझ था. लेकिन अभी तो दामाद का भी दायित्व है कि उन्हें अपने सास ससुर माँ बाप सबको मेंटेन करना है. Okay, so why is this law important, or why human rights of senior citizens are important? Well, understand one thing, that when with age the personality changes. You all may have senior citizens at home, and I'm sure you all are very, very loving, learned people. I will still add on to it and say that imagine yourself at that place one day and change your behavior towards them in the best possible manner, whatever you can. So this phase is a very different phase, and there are instances like why the law is required. There are people who physically assault senior citizens. They assault their parents, they push, they kick. Some senior citizens are exploited sexually as well. Many are exploited emotionally by saying, अब आप तो क्या हो गया ना, रिटायर हो गए हो, आप तो धरती पे बोझ हो, है ना, या कितने दिन जियोगे पता नहीं, अरे कितने दिन ये बुढ़िया जिएगी. So these are very, very typical and common statements which we hear in the country. Neglect. The neglect is so bad because you are so busy in your life, you have no time to ask, आपने खाना खाया नहीं खाया. Abandoning the parents, छोड़ दिया कहीं भी. Financial pressure, no money is given if the person is not having pension. What does the senior citizen do? So 75% senior citizens population lives in rural India. Out of that, 73% senior citizen populations are illiterate and they are dependent. 66% senior citizen population lives below poverty line. 66% are vulnerable and victims of various kinds of harassment. 48% senior citizens population is female, because half of the country's population is female. This statistic is as per the earlier scenario. There have been many complaints by the senior citizens, various complaints from decade to decade. You can see like 1951, 2 crore, 2001, 7.2 crore, 1396, and 2020, 10 crore. So, when there are surveys which are conducted to look into the human rights of senior citizens, it has been revealed that 66% cannot afford 2 meals because most of them are below poverty line. तो 2 वक्त का खाना भी इन्हें नसीब नहीं होता है. 90% लोगों को मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज नहीं मिलती है, सोशल सिक्योरिटी नहीं मिलती है. सो दीज आर ऑल कंसर्न्स. हम न्यूज़पेपर खोलते हैं तो हमें क्या दिखता है? 9वीं कक्षा के बच्चे ने अपनी दादी का कत्ल कर दिया. वेरी कॉमन. या or a daughter-in-law has harassed the mother-in-law, or the son has told the mother to get out of the house. So these are very common news these days which come, which are factor, because once the children feel कि अरे अब ये हमारे कोई काम के नहीं है, the behavior changes. So we have these experiences. Now let me take you to some different experience which we always looked upon. क्या सिचुएशन था इंडिया में? सो एक जमाना था, एक कहानी थी श्रवण बाळ की, जो काफी सारे लोग ऑलरेडी जानते होंगे, क्योंकि अगर बहुत आदर्शवादी बेटे की किसी को अगर उपमा देनी हो, तुलना करनी हो, तो हमेशा उसे श्रवण बाळ कहा जाता है. So Shravan Bar was that person who had carried his parents on his shoulder to various Tirth Yatra. Both were blind and he took that much care. Now, why senior citizens are neglected, or why are senior citizens victims of human rights? The major reason is the change of attitude, the change of lifestyle. Here it is not only attitude, here it is also our lifestyle. So earlier we had a huge joint family, है ना, जैसे काकी, चाची, मामी, बुआ, ताया, मासाजी, ताचाजी, so many people to take care and to look after each other. अभी nuclear families हो गई है. Now because of nuclear families, what happens? Suppose I am a working woman now. If I have a mother-in-law at home, मैं naturally सुबह 7 बजे घर से निकल जाती हूँ. In Mumbai, life is hectic. Every day I leave house at 7. I'm out whole day. I go home at 10 p.m. Now I wouldn't know what is happening at home. I can take care of my mother-in-law, but I can't stay home every day. मेरी छुट्टियां लिमिटेड होती है. फिर रिसोर्स क्या बचता है? मैं काम वाली बाई रखो. But then it is my duty. My duty to at least make 2 phone calls at home and ask what has happened. So even if you can't be there physically, you can at least express your concern. Ask what have you had, tell the maid to take care, monitor when you go home. But because of the nuclear families, there is a shift in attitudes. Life somewhere has become very different. Like if we want to go for a movie in the evening on a Saturday, we look at the in-laws or the parents as a burden. अरे यार मेरे को तो जाना था, लेकिन अब इनको कहाँ कैसे बताओ, लेके नहीं जा सकते, घर पे छोड़े तो इनको बुरा लगता है. So these are different lifestyle problems which we have come up with. But whenever there is a problem, there is always a solution. बताइए, कोई ताला ऐसा बना है जिसकी चाबी नहीं है? ऐसा ताला तो मैन्युफैक्चर ही नहीं होता है ना. ताला मैन्युफैक्चर चाबी के साथ ही होता है. All problems in life have solutions. All we need to do is learn to respect individuals. So in pursuance of protection of rights of senior citizens, there are various attempts which are made by the government, like in regards of Indian Railways, like travel by buses, or the pension scheme, the Annapurna scheme, the finance taxation. So there are many schemes which the government has done. But as I said initially, in concern of women, I again say the same thing. Government will not come every now and then to your rescue. And government doesn't violate your right here. The right is violated by we the people. You know, who violates the human rights of the senior citizens? Somebody in the family, no? If the government doesn't provide you the required medication, then the government is violating your right. Then the state is violating your right. So the senior citizens had a very, very vulnerable phase during the COVID. COVID-19 was a trauma phase for the senior citizens because they were at higher risks since age. Isolation further scared them. Quarantine होना पड़ता था. Stress, anxiety, low immunity levels, impact on their moods, their appetite, fearing being lonely, and inadequate medical care. So that was a very bad phase for the senior citizens. But yes, to sum up the topic of senior citizens, my friends, today we have a huge population of senior citizens in the country. Most of them live below the poverty line. Senior citizens do not expect anything more than respect from your end. What we can do as academicians, as learned people, is we can at least be cordial in our approach. If we cannot respect them, let's not disrespect. So in protection or in furtherance of protection of human rights of senior citizens, we can be very respectful towards them. We can guide them. See, it's not that you may be disrespectful, but suppose you have a next door senior citizen and the senior citizen asks you someday, अरे भाई मुझे वहां तक लिफ्ट दे दोगे? So you feel, अरे यार मुझे काम पे जाना है, मैं कहाँ लिफ्ट दे दूं? क्या बुढ़िया के खुद के 4 बच्चे हैं, एक को नहीं बोल सकती? This should not be the attitude. So there may be some issue at the lady's end where her children are not willing to drop her. Therefore, she has asked you, if you can drop, please help. If not, just go away without disrespecting or concluding, you know. So don't be judgmental about things in life. Now, moving ahead to the last segment, human rights of LGBT. Equal inclusion, I would say. That today the time is where we should not just talk about human rights of LGBT as one of the vulnerable section, but we should talk about inclusion of LGBTs. So all we know about the lesbians, gays, bisexual and transgenders called as LGBT is that they come, they clap, they dance and they ask for money. That's all we know. That's not the case. Well, the full form of the LGBT is lesbian, which means a woman who endures physical, romantic, emotional attraction towards another woman. Gay, this is a term which is used, which shows that a person has physical, romantic, emotional attractions of the same sex towards another person. Bisexual is where a person has the capacity to form enduring physical or romantic emotional attraction towards the same gender or another gender. Bisexual actually may not have any sexual experience to identify the bisexual. Transgender is kind of an umbrella term which is used to describe the LGB. Okay, so together. Now, why do I say social inclusion of transgenders? So, well, जो लोग लॉ बैकग्राउंड से नहीं है उन्हें शायद नहीं पता होगा, या बिकॉज एकेडमिशियंस हो तो नेचुरली आपने पढ़ा होगा. नास फाउंडेशन का केस था, उसके बाद हाल ही में 2018 में the Supreme Court has given equal status to all transgenders, and now there is a major shift. Like even the UGC has recommended construction of transgender toilet, like male, female, and third gender. Passport forms now have male, female, third gender. So the government has made an effort to see that all the forms have the third gender. Till date, ये कभी नहीं था. इसके पहले सिर्फ मेल फीमेल ही आया करता था फॉर्म्स पे. So when we talk about social inclusion, are the transgenders human beings? Yes, they are. Do they have rights like you and me? Yes, they do. Do we respect their right to dignity? People like you and me maybe, but the general society doesn't. So what are the gender inequalities faced by the transgender? Well, the transgenders are kind of shooked off, wherever they come, wherever they are never given the due respect. They are looked upon as, in Indian context, what we call as kinners or hijras. So all that they are looked upon as they can come, clap, dance, perform, आशीर्वाद दे सकते, दुआएं दे सकते हैं और जा सकते हैं. But that is not the case. See, the legal status of transgenders was recognized way back in 1948. After the Second World War, there was a system of denoting a person by a pink triangle. ये जर्मनी में हुआ था. So any person who was a transgender, he had this triangle which showed that he is either a gay or a lesbo or whatever. Then there was a very sad episode which took place in Germany of killing around 1 lakh gays in the concentration camp, which was a very, very antisocial perspective and a gross violation of human rights. Coming to India, in India, we had a law called the क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स एक्ट. जब ब्रिटिश भारत देश पे राज करते थे तब एक कानून बनाया गया था, द क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स एक्ट 1871. And then we had the Indian Penal Code, which criminalized acts of sexuality with same gender under Section 377. So homosexuality was an offense. But with the new judgments, now Article 14 and Article 21 of the Constitution overpower Section 377. So the NAS Foundation केस, ये एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण केस रह चुका है. इस केस के तहत ये कहा गया था बाय दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट कि Section 377 is unconstitutional. It is against Article 14, which is for equality, or 21, which is for right to dignity and liberty. So review petition was filed and it was dismissed. Finally, there was a bill which was put forth in 2014 जो राज्यसभा में पेश किया गया था. 16, 18 और 19 इतनी बार ये बिल प्रपोज किया गया to have a special law for the transgenders. Finally, the Supreme Court in 2018 upheld the law, upheld the right and dignity of the transgenders, and recognized third gender as one of the important gender, and granted the status of OBC to the transgenders. And there is urge to provide special medical assistance, special assistance as and when required. So now there is no gender inequality on the paper. So the law prohibits discrimination against transgender. The law recognizes the identity, as I just mentioned. There are various welfare measures. There is rehabilitation and right to residence. There is a council of transgenders. There is a list of offenses and penalties in this law. And there is a mention of inclusive at the workplace. Well, as I always say, law ने तो बहुत कुछ कर लिया है, हमने क्या किया, है ना? So the Constitution has done a lot. The other laws in the country have done a lot. The Honorable Judiciary, the High Courts and the Supreme Court has done a lot. What have we done? Do we really accept them? No, my friends. The problems which are faced by the transgenders, first is the discrimination. पब्लिक स्पेसेस में उनके साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, उन्हें एम्प्लॉयमेंट जल्दी नहीं मिलता. कोई भी अगर ट्रांसजेंडर लेडी है और आपके पास आती है, बोलती है मैडम मेरे को काम दो, आप डर जाते हो. आप बोलेंगे नहीं नहीं बाबा, इसको कहाँ मेरे घर में मैं झाड़ू पोता करने रखूं, नहीं चाहिए नहीं चाहिए. सो अनलेस यू गिव एन अपॉर्चुनिटी, they will be never inclusive for the transgenders. Lack of educational facilities because they are neglected since their birth. अभी हाल ही में एक मूवी आया था ताली, सुष्मिता सेन्स मूवी, अ ब्यूटिफुल मूवी ऑन गौरी सावंत's life, which is a real story. So we must watch such things, we must popularize such things to sensitize the people towards the human rights of transgenders. Many of them are homeless, many of them do not have families, many of them do not get any love, concern, medical facilities का problem होता है. As a result of which they get carried away in wrong things. तंबाकू खाते हैं, सिगार, दारू, ये सारी चीजों में जाते हैं. So there is a lot of abuse which takes place, blackmail and indignity. What are the causes of the injustice or the inequality? Well, unacceptance by the society. हम कभी खुले दिल से उन्हें एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाते हैं. पॉवर्टी है, इलिटरेसी है, इकोनॉमिक डिपेंडेंसी. This is the present scenario. Despite so much progress, transgenders' rights are violated because they are not wholeheartedly welcomed. So the law protects human rights, but the society discriminates. The law has done a lot. Here is an example of few movies. जैसे हम हमेशा कहते हैं ना, मूवीज जो होती है वो एक प्रकार का समाज का आईना होती है. जो भी समाज में होता है वो मूवी में दिखाते हैं, जो भी मूवीज में होता है वो समाज में होता है. कुछ अच्छा है, कुछ बुरा है, काफी कुछ बुरा है वैसे आजकल. आई मीन आई एम स्ट्रॉन्ग against the language which is used in the normal, but not for us, you know. Like there was, भूल गया हम लोग क्या, oh गॉड आई फॉरगॉट माय पेन, है ना? मेरे जमाने में एटलीस्ट, मैं अभी आपसे शायद बड़ी होंगी उम्र में, गॉड। नाउ आफ्टर दैट देयर इज अ जनरेशन व्हिच सेज ओ शिट। आपके स्टूडेंट्स क्या कहते हैं पता है आपको? आपके स्टूडेंट्स जब ऐसा एक्सप्रेशन होता है ना, दे से द स्टूडेंट्स, वोकैबुलरी प्लेज अ मेजर रोल। मैंने अभी अभी आपको सुनाया, every thought creates a word, every word creates action, every action creates habit, every habit creates character, every character creates reputation, every reputation creates destiny. So the thought and the words are so important. Well, coming back here to the slide, there was a movie Bombay Dost way back in 1970s. Shabana Azmi had played a role. You know, people burnt the posters. People said, क्या दिखा रहे हैं बकवास, ये नहीं होता, ये ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है. Now today, see how the society has changed. At least that is an improvement. Today's society has accepted movies like Kapoor and Sons, Ek Ladka, Shubh Mangal Savdhan, even for the sake of entertainment, but the society has accepted the existence. So the present scenario is little improving but needs a lot to do. There are various positive steps which are taken in furtherance of protection of human rights of transgenders. Like there are magazines, newsletters, there's awareness, there are various NGOs which are established which work for transgenders and they must keep up the good work. So there are help centers which are there at Mumbai, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, welfare boards. So there are various activities which are done. Tamil Nadu is one of the state which has done various endeavors for transgenders, the first state rather in India. सबसे पहला स्टेट है जहां फ्री सेक्स रीअसेसमेंट सर्जरीज होती है, फ्री हाउसिंग दिया जाता है, वेरियस सिटीजनशिप डॉक्यूमेंट्स, उनके लिए घर, उनके लिए रोजगार. तो तमिलनाडु स्टेट में पॉपुलेशन ट्रांसजेंडर्स का ज्यादा था पहले से ही. सो दैट स्टेट टेक्स द लीड एंड रियली हैज डन वंडरफुल एफर्ट्स फॉर ट्रांसजेंडर्स. Why transgenders need protection? Well, because they are by birth told that they are different. They have a social stigma. There's a lot of discrimination which takes place, which we as learned people, educated people should try and avoid. They are made vulnerable to various acts of harassment, violence, extortion, sexual abuse, acquaintance, and many bad acts take place with these people as transgenders. So if you take a look at the present scenario towards the development, okay, we have taken a glance कि बुरा क्या क्या है या वास्तविकता क्या है. अब उसमें अच्छा भी कुछ होता है. अच्छा क्या होता है? जैसे अभी ट्रांसजेंडर्स को पासपोर्ट अलॉट होते हैं, क्योंकि पहले दो ही सिचुएशंस थी, पुरुष या महिला. अभी थर्ड जेंडर आ गया है. सो सत्यश्री शर्मिला के नाम से 2015 में एक पासपोर्ट इशू हुआ है, वोटर आईडी कार्ड्स इशू हो गए हैं, आधार कार्ड्स इशू हो गए हैं, एम्प्लॉयमेंट कार्ड्स इशू हो गए हैं. सो नाउ दिस इज अ साइन ऑफ प्रोग्रेस towards the protection of human rights. But yes, overall, if we want human rights of transgenders to be protected, we have to see that there is inclusion. There is exclusive inclusion of transgenders. Law helps to build the bridge between the society and the violations, but we have to walk on the bridge. We have to see that we make a step forward. We have to link it between the people and the law, and we as the society, whether it is human rights, whether it is transgenders, women, children, kuch koi bhi ho, human rights protection is a must. It is a basic. So we can say that there is so much lacuna in variety of sectors. Like if I tell you there are 76 million people who have no access to drinking water on this planet. There are 1 million people who have no shelter. There are 195 million people who have no food and 200 million people who have no. Imagine लोगों के पास इतना कुछ नहीं है, हमारे पास सब कुछ होके भी हम कितना क्रिप करते हैं. We should know. So there are people who are victims of so many things. So then when we say we are developed, जो मैं करीबन 2.5 घंटे से बोल रही हूँ, डेवलपमेंट क्या है? It is said that whether so let me take you through this beautiful equation. बहुत मस्त है. ह्यूमन राइट्स, राइट्स. जिसके पास राइट्स है उसके पास सिक्योरिटी है, जिसके पास सिक्योरिटी है वो डेवलप्ड है. नाउ टेक इट द अदर वे. If you are developed, you have security, you have rights. So if you have rights, you must protect the human rights. In case you don't have rights, you don't have security. If you have no security, that means you are not developed. But honestly speaking, ये अपने वास्तविक जीवन में ऐसा नहीं होता है. समझते जब हमारे पास 4-6 डिग्रियां होती है. I disagree on that. According to me, qualification is not a piece of degree. Qualification is the knowledge which we acquire. Civilization is not having post-graduation and PhD. Qualification and development, progress in civilization is having maturity of thought. It is understanding what you mean. अभी एक एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ, जैसे 2 वर्ड्स है, इंफॉर्मेशन और नॉलेज. ठीक है. अभी अगर मैं आपको पूछूं, are you an informed human being? You will say yes. वैसे आपको पता होगा, इंडिया इज द सेकेंड हाईएस्ट यूजर ऑफ इंटरनेट इन द वर्ल्ड, है ना? एंड इंडिया इज द हाईएस्ट number of Android mobile phones in the world, in India as a country. So when we say that India is the second highest user of internet in the world, that means every person is informed, है ना? इंफॉर्मेशन तो गूगल पे मिलती है, उसके लिए थोड़ी हमें रिसर्च करना पड़ता है. Information is easily available on Google, which is handy. You all have the information. You all are informed person. But are we knowledgeable? The question is, we have information at our fingertips due to Google, but do we have knowledge? Now, a person who knows how to use the information is knowledgeable. A person who knows how to use the information is knowledgeable. You become knowledgeable when you know where to and how to use the information. What is wisdom? When do you become a wise person? चलिए, अगर आप सो रहे हो तो जगा देती हूँ. Tell me, is tomato a fruit or a vegetable?
फळभाजी.
Anybody? Sorry?
फळभाजी आहे.
फल भाजी है. ओके. और कोई बता पाएगा टमाटो फ्रूट है कि वेजिटेबल है?
दोनों भी है
मैडम वेजिटेबल.
वेजिटेबल है. ओके ओके, वेजिटेबल. और बताइए.
दोनों भी है.
दोनों भी है. अच्छा.
हाँ.
और किसी को चांस लेना है जवाब देने का? बताइए, कोई इंटरेस्टेड है तो बता दीजिए, फिर मैं जवाब देती हूँ. फ्रूट है कि वेजिटेबल है? अब देखिए, हम सब टीचर्स हैं.
आपण तो कसं त्याच्यावर डिपेंड आहे.
काय म्हणालात सर? आवाज नाही आला.
आपण कसं वापरतो त्याच्यावर डिपेंड आहे, फ्रूट आहे का ज्यूस.
बरं, ठीक है. ऑलराइट सर, ये कह रहे हैं कि हम किस तरह से यूज करते हैं उस पर डिपेंड करता है. अब बताइए, हम सब टीचर्स हैं, हम बचपन से बायोलॉजी पढ़ रहे हैं जिसमें हमने फ्रूट्स वेजिटेबल्स पढ़े हैं, है ना? आज ये उम्र में मैं आपको पूछ रही हूँ कि टोमेटो फ्रूट है कि वेजिटेबल है, आप कंफ्यूज्ड हो. ऑनेस्टली कंफ्यूज्ड हो आप कि अरे फ्रूट है कि वेजिटेबल है. नाउ माय फ्रेंड्स, लेट मी टेल यू, tomato is a fruit. Okay, tomato belongs to a citrus family. आप अगर बोटेनिकली देखोगे तो टोमेटो फ्रूट है. हम खाते उसे वेजिटेबल की तरह है, लेकिन वो ओरिजिनली फ्रूट है. अब मेरा एग्जाम्पल क्या है, मैं क्या कन्वे करना चाह रही हूँ आपको? नोइंग टोमेटो इज अ फ्रूट इज नॉलेज. ठीक है, नोइंग टोमेटो इज अ फ्रूट इज नॉलेज. नॉट यूजिंग टोमेटो इन फ्रूट सैलेड इज विजडम. समझे आप बात को? टमेटो फ्रूट है, ये नॉलेज है, लेकिन टमेटो को फ्रूट सैलेड में यूज नहीं करना है, ये विजडम है. So, knowledge is knowing what to speak and wisdom is knowing what not to speak. Always remember the difference, because we as teachers, our life rotates around three words: information, knowledge और wisdom. और हमें इन तीनों की डिटेल्स जानना बहुत जरूरी होता है. So, my friends, coming to the summing up part of our session, we have discussed what are human rights. We have discussed human rights violations of women, children, senior citizens, and LGBT. Now, you may wonder, what can you do? As a teacher, as an academician, what role can you play in furtherance of protection of human rights of others? So, we can't go on the road, है ना? हम कहाँ ऐसा मोर्चा लेके जाएंगे, हमारी मांगे पूरी करो, हमारे सीनियर सिटीजन जिंदाबाद? नहीं, we can't do all these things. What can we do? We can do a little bit things which we should do. We can write blogs, we can write research papers, we can write newspaper articles, we can create social media content, we can create awareness, we can organize seminars. Seminars in the sense not for the caste marks, okay, please. ऐसे एसी रूम में बैठ के सेमिनार्स करने में मतलब नहीं होता है. इफ यू वांट टू डू समथिंग फॉर द पीपल एट लार्ज, you should conduct these seminars as road plays and road shows on the streets, in villages, in factories, in slums, wherever you see there is violation of human rights. Not in our AC conference rooms where we take 1,000 rupees from the participants, give them a kit, lunch, and a certificate for presentations. No, that is for your academic growth. If you want to be a person who provides assistance for protection of human rights, or just to give back to the societies, these are the things which you should do. You can have podcasts, you can have so many good things on the social media. So, my friends, to sum up, human rights, education is very important. Exchange of thoughts is very important. If we really want to eradicate violation of human rights and protect human rights of individuals, we as educated section of the society must impart moral values, ethics, gratitude, attitude to our students. That is one way. See, we are torch bearers. We interact with so many students in our life. Till date, I may have taught 10,000, more than 10,000 students. I'm teaching for last 22 years. So every year a batch passes out. And how many students do we teach? Out of a batch of 300, even if you touch the heart of 3 students, it is more than enough. If you make a difference for that number of students. So this is what we can do as teachers. Why human education, values, ethics is important. If you look at this image, you will realize a tree whose roots are deep in the soil stands proudly with fruits, but a tree whose roots are weak, it collapses. और हमारे जीवन के सही मायने में रूट्स क्या है? हमारे वैल्यूज, हमारे एथिक्स, हमारे संस्कार, हमारा कल्चर, हमारे रूट्स है. ये हमें जड़ों से पकड़ के रखते हैं, और तभी हमारा जिंदगी का पौधा फूलता फलता है. So this is a very simple example which you can always pass on when your children are small, when your students are young, so that the mind is molded accordingly. So to end, my friends, I will say, we will not enjoy development without security. We will not enjoy security without development. We will not enjoy either without respect for human rights. This is written as the report of the UN Secretary in the year 2005, which says that we must always respect everyone. So I stop the screen share here and I will open up for questions. Before that, I will just say one thing to all of you. We have just had a lecture on human rights, protection of human rights, rights of human rights. I will just say these 3 lines which I have written on my own. So we all have this Android mobile phone with us, each one of us. This is a touchscreen phone, which is a non-living thing. Each one of us touches this touchscreen phone at least 100 times in a day. Even if there is no message, after 10 minutes you see, अरे pop-up नहीं आया, pop-up नहीं आया. My request to all of you is that if we touch a non-living touchscreen phone 100 times in a day, can we make effort to touch somebody's heart at least once a day? Thank you so much. I
Wow.
open up the floor for question answers.
Ma'am, let me tell you, you naturally you are a experienced and law professor. You talk very well, you present very well, but you sound much more like Sister B.K. Shivani.
Oh my God. Thank you, my dear. No, I just love being a human being. That's it. That's it. काही प्रश्न आहेत का कुणाचे, विचारू शकता. आणि तुम्ही एकदा सगळे कॅमेराज ऑन करा, म्हणजे आपण फोटो घेऊया.
भाई मेरा एक सवाल ये है कि जैसे डेवलप कंट्रीज में जो ह्यूमन राइट का प्रोटेक्शन है वो बहुत तेज रफ्तारी से जा रहा है,
जी.
लेकिन अगर हम अपने यहाँ पर देखें तो क्या वजह है इतनी ज्यादा मैम अभी होने का जो है ह्यूमन राइट्स प्रोटेक्शन के मामले में इतना स्लो, क्या है इसके क्या रीजंस हैं?
सो हमारे यहाँ सर फर्स्टली तो क्या है, जैसे आप लॉ से हो, आप जानते हो हमारे यहाँ सोशल सिक्योरिटी के प्रोविजंस कुछ नहीं है. हाल ही में 2020 में जो लेबर कोड्स इनेक्ट हुए हैं उसमें सोशल सिक्योरिटी है, बट वो सिर्फ लेबर के लिए है ना, इट्स ओनली फॉर द एम्प्लॉयज. तो हमारे यहाँ अगर आप देखोगे तो ह्यूमन राइट्स के लिए सोशल सिक्योरिटी कोड कुछ भी नहीं है. हमारी गवर्नमेंट डेवलपिंग गवर्नमेंट है, तो हमारे गवर्नमेंट के पास इतना पैसा नहीं है कि सीनियर सिटीजन्स को मेडिकल पैकेजेस दे. जैसे अगर आप यूनाइटेड किंगडम जाते हैं तो यूनाइटेड किंगडम में जो ब्रिटिश नेशनल हेल्थ है, ब्रिटिश नेशनल हेल्थ में पूरा ट्रीटमेंट फ्री होता है पेशेंट्स के लिए, सीनियर सिटीजन्स के लिए. और वहां का ट्रीटमेंट अपने कोई भी 5 स्टार हॉस्पिटल से भी बेटर होता है. हमारे यहाँ भी फ्री ट्रीटमेंट गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स में है, बट मेरा तो ये कहना है कि गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल में ही ह्यूमन राइट्स का वायलेशन ज्यादा होता है, क्योंकि वहां पे जिस तरह से पेशेंट से बर्ताव किया जाता है, कोई रिस्पेक्ट नहीं, बेड नहीं, ये नहीं हमारे पास, उधर जाओ इधर जाओ. दे टॉर्चर द पीपल मोर दैट दे फील इससे तो हम प्राइवेट में इलाज करा लें. So government being a developing government, having less economy or less finances is one reason. Second, हमारे यहाँ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन मशीनरी इतनी स्ट्रांग नहीं है. लॉज होते हैं बट वो इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हो पाते हैं. तो जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव विंग है हमारा, एग्जीक्यूशन का विंग बहुत वीक है इंडिया में. और पब्लिक का भी एक मेजर प्रॉब्लम मुझे दिखाई देता है. जैसे मेरे जिंदगी के 17-18 साल मैं लंदन रह चुकी हूँ, मेरा बचपन वहां का है, तो मैं कंपेयर करती हूँ दोनों सोसाइटीज को. बहुत डिफरेंस है सर. हमारे यहाँ पब्लिक में भी अवेयरनेस नहीं है. हम भी जाके डिमांड नहीं करते हैं. कुछ गलत हो रहा है तो हम उस पे 2-4 गाली देके आगे निकल जाते हैं. हम उस बात की तह तक नहीं जाते हैं. मैं ये मानती हूँ कि हमें अगर दिखाई दे रहा है कि कहीं पे किसी चीज का उल्लंघन है, तो क्यों ना हम उसकी तह तक जाए, क्या रीजन है, क्यों ऐसे हो रहा है. सो इट इज अ मल्टीफेसेटेड प्रॉब्लम. गवर्नमेंट हैज लेस फाइनेंसेस टू लुक आफ्टर. सेकेंड, द पॉपुलेशन इज टू ह्यूज, nobody bothers. Third, the administration and the execution is very, very deficient. And fourth, awareness amongst people is not there. People being not very educated and equipped, they are not in a demanding position कि ये हमारे अधिकार, ये हमें चाहिए. So these are all interconnected things.
थैंक यू मैम. मैम शुरू में आपने बताया था कि हम भारत जो है वो भारत की पार्लियामेंट जो है वो सीडो जैसे है और बहुत सारे जो रेटिफिकेशंस करते हैं हम लोग इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, और बहुत सारे जो प्रूडेंट दिखते हैं प्रोविजंस इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, और मैं उस हम सब उसे रेटिफाई नहीं करते हैं, हालांकि वो बिल्कुल वो नीड ऑफ आर होता है. तो इसकी
जी.
क्या वजह है कि ऐसे प्रोविजंस को हम लोग नहीं करते हैं विच इज जस्ट नीड ऑफ आर इन अ कंट्री? सो व्हाट इज द रीजन बिहाइंड दिस, व्हाई वी आर नॉट लुकिंग दैट मच?
So sir, this is actually a politically wrapped up question, because what happens is government has to decide which convention to be ratified or not to be ratified. So like there is a convention on missing persons convention which we call, so that convention has not been ratified by India. So Indian government has to take up the call that which conventions should be ratified and not to be ratified. So the government mostly looks after a particular convention which may be for the benefit of the country, like children's convention are ratified, women's conventions are ratified, senior citizens ratified, then the convention against torture and inhuman treatment of prisoners is ratified, convention against convention for protection of people with disabilities is ratified. So government has to take a call on this. We as people, we can only make comments that the government has not done this, or we can keep writing, as I always say, as people from law, or at the most file PIL. जैसे हम करते हैं, I have been filing many PILs in the High Court and the Supreme Court wherever I feel this is wrong and this has to be done. So that can be done. But rest, it is a government call totally.
हॅलो
थैंक
मॅम.
यू मैम.
Welcome. Yes, sir. बोलिए.
ओल्ड एज होम सिटी भागामध्ये जास्त असतात, ग्रामीण भागाकडे हा शब्द पण परिचयाचा नाहीये. तर त्या संदर्भामध्ये म्हणजे जो घरातला कर्ता पुरुष एकेकाळी जो प्रमुख होता तोच घराच्या बाहेर काढला जातो आणि गावाकडे तशा पद्धतीची परिस्थिती मला तरी पाहायला मिळत नाही. कारण तर मी शहापूर मुरबाडकडच्या भागाकडचा आहे आणि त्यामुळे या परिसरामध्ये दूर दूरवर पण वृद्धाश्रम नाहीच आहे. तर मला वाटतं की विकासाच्या जवळ आपण जात आहोत, पण कुठेतरी एकूणपणे घरातल्या मेंबरलाच आपण बाहेर काढतोय. तर त्या संदर्भामध्ये छान म्हणजे वृद्धाश्रम ही संकल्पना म्हणजे भारतीय संस्कृतीत अगोदर नव्हतीच, पण ती तो शब्द दूर फेकला जावा तशा पद्धतीचं माझं प्रतिपादन.
बरोबर है सर तुमचं. जिन लोगों को मराठी नहीं समझ आती है उनके लिए बताती हूँ. सर का सवाल ये था कि गांव की तरफ वृद्धाश्रम नहीं है, सिटीज में ही वृद्धाश्रम है, और क्यों जो कर्ता पुरुष घर का होता है उसको क्यों वृद्धाश्रम में डाल देने की बात होती है. तो सर तुमचं म्हणणं अगदी बरोबर आहे. तुम्हाला खेड्यापाड्यामध्ये वृद्धाश्रम दिसणार नाही, आणि म्हणूनच मी जे 4 ओळी मगाशी बोलली की अनाथ आश्रम मध्ये गरिबांची मुलं असतात आणि वृद्धाश्रम मध्ये श्रीमंतांचे आईबाप असतात. शहरातल्या लोकांना स्वतःचे आईबाप सांभाळायचे नसतात आणि दुसरा काही पर्याय नसतो म्हणून ते नेऊन टाकतात. खेड्यामध्ये असं नाही की त्यांना सांभाळायचे नसतात. मी पण खेडे भागातून येते आणि अनेक वेळा खेड्यात मी अनेक सामाजिक कार्यासाठी जाते. खेड्यामध्ये परिस्थिती अशी आहे की वृद्धाश्रम नाही आहेत. त्याचा अर्थ हा नाहीये की सिनियर सिटीजन्सला त्रास नाहीये. सिनियर सिटीजन्सला तिथेही त्रास आहे, तिथेही सासूनांचे भांडण आहेत, तिथेही मुलं मारतात, तिथेही मुलं म्हणतात जा घराच्या बाहेर. पण एक सामाजिक दबाव ज्याला म्हणतो ना, तो सिटीपेक्षा गावामध्ये आजही आहे. गावामध्ये आजही लोक काय म्हणतील याला जास्त मानलं जातं आणि ते आई वडील कसे बसे तरी रडत भांडत का होईना पण ते सांभाळतात. आता खेड्यामध्ये आपण म्हणू की ही संकल्पना आता तुमच्या मते ती असावी की नसावी, म्हणजे वृद्धाश्रम असावे की नसावे, काय वाटतं तुम्हाला?
मैम थोड़ा हिंदी में भी अगर बता दें इंग्लिश में तो आंसर समझ में आ जाएगा.
जी, मैं सर को बता के फिर आपको ट्रांसलेट करती हूँ. बेसिकली जैसे मैंने कहा ना, इनका कहना यह है कि गांव में नहीं है. अब मैं ये कह रही हूँ. हाँ बोला सर.
सामाजिक जबाबदारी जर प्रत्येकाने सांभाळली, प्रत्येकाची ड्युटी तुम्ही जशी म्हणता प्रत्येकाची ड्युटी जर प्रत्येकाने सांभाळली तर तो शब्दच राहणार नाही असं मला वाटतंय. ड्युटी महत्वाची.
बट सर अब ये खान सर, ये हमारे जो रोल नंबर 31, क्या नाम है सर आपका?
हेलो हेलो.
रोल नंबर 31.
रोल नंबर 20.
एक मिनिट. रोल नंबर 31 चं नाव काय मला ऐकू दे आधी. भरड़ सर. अच्छा ठीक है. तो खान सर, इनका कहना ये था.
रोल नंबर 20 मैडम.
हाँ, एक मिनिट सर, मी ह्यांचं कंप्लीट करू. रोल नंबर 20 सर, ह्यांचं कंप्लीट करू. एक मिनिट.
करा.
हाँ, सो खान सर, इनका कहना ये था कि गांव में भी वृद्धाश्रम नहीं है. तो मैं उनको जवाब में ये बता रही थी कि गांव में वृद्धाश्रम नहीं है, ये बात सही है. इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि वहां सीनियर सिटीजन को तकलीफ नहीं है. वहां भी सास बहू के झगड़े होते हैं, वहां भी बेटे मारते हैं माँ बाप को, परेशान करते हैं, दारू पी के सब गंदी बातें करते हैं, वो होता है वहां भी. लेकिन वहां थोड़ा सा सामाजिक बंधन सिटी से ज्यादा होता है कि कुछ भी हो लेकिन वो घर में निपटा लेते हैं कि चलो छोड़ो, माँ बाप है संभाल लेंगे. वहां पे वृद्धाश्रम होने चाहिए नहीं होने चाहिए, बेसिकली वृद्धाश्रम ये कॉन्सेप्ट ही नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये पूरी तरह से बच्चों का दायित्व है कि बच्चे अपने माँ बाप का ध्यान रखें। लेकिन हाल ही में जैसे एक जजमेंट था जस्टिस काथावाला का बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट का, तो जिसमें एक बेटी अपनी माँ को घर में ही कैद करके रखती है और बोलती है कि तू इस पे साइन कर, विल पे साइन कर। विल बना के लाई है, माँ 86 ईयर्स की है और माँ को जबरदस्ती की जाती है कि तो इस पे साइन कर, माँ करती नहीं। तो बेटी बेटी, हाँ, मतलब लोग ये सोचते हैं कि बेटियां बहुत प्यार करती है और हमेशा बेटे ही तकलीफ देती है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। ये केस में लड़की थी, तो लड़की उनकी 46 ईयर्स की उम्र है लड़की की भी, उसका बेटा इंजीनियरिंग कर रहा है और उसकी माँ है 86 की, जो ओल्ड सीनियर सिटीजन है। तो माँ से विल साइन नहीं कर रही थी। सो ये बेटी ने क्या किया, हाथ में पेन था, ऐसा हाथ पकड़ के हाथ पूरा ऐसा उल्टा कर दिया, इतने जोर से हाथ के यहाँ ये जो कोनी होती है हमारी एल्बो, एल्बो की बोन फ्रैक्चर हो गई। आप मतलब यकीन नहीं मानेंगे, बट पूरे मेडिकल रिपोर्ट्स हमारे पास है। उनका हाथ फ्रैक्चर हो गया और उनको वैसे ही कमरे में बंद कर दिया 15 दिन। 15 दिन काम वाली बाई आके उनके टॉयलेट साफ करती थी, बट उसको बाहर आने नहीं दिया, हॉस्पिटल लेके नहीं गए। फिर कामवाली ने पुलिस की मदद से सब मैटर ये किया और फिर ये मैटर गया बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट में। बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट में जब मैटर गया तो जस्टिस काथावाला बहुत ही प्रूडेंट जज है बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट के, उन्होंने ये मैटर डिसाइड किया था। और इस मैटर में उन्होंने श्रवण बाल का भी जिक्र किया है कि ये कैसी परिस्थिति है कि आज बच्चे अपनी माँ बाप की जान लेने पे तुले हैं। बिकॉज द मदर डिड नॉट साइन द विल, द डॉटर ट्विस्टेड हर हैंड, सो ही डायरेक्टेड द डॉटर टू वेकेट द हाउस बिकॉज द हाउस वॉज इन द मदर्स नेम. So, law comes to help for senior citizens, but my concern is why should we have these when we were duty bound to take care of our parents? Don't they take care of us when we are children? They do. तो हम उतना नहीं कर सकते क्या? लेकिन ये क्या है ना, जो हमारे भरत सर रोल नंबर 31 बोल रहे थे कि हर कोई अपना कर्तव्य करेगा तो कोई किसी के अधिकार के लिए झगड़ा नहीं करेगा, जो मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बताया, जो प्रोफेसर डुग्यूट की फिलोसॉफी है। बट ये बहुत आइडियलिस्टिक सिचुएशन है, इतना आइडियलिस्टिक अनफॉर्चुनेटली, दुर्भाग्य की बात है, कोई नहीं है आज की दुनिया में। तो वो एक दिक्कत है कि वृद्धाश्रम का होना इसलिए जरूरी है ताकि पेरेंट्स को कहीं तो राहत मिले। रोल नंबर 20 बोला सर, काय म्हणत होता?
हा, नमस्कार मॅडम.
नमस्कार.
मला मी शरद बोराडे, लाल बहादूर शास्त्री महाविद्यालय परतूर, जिल्हा जालना. मला वाटतं मॅडम, माणूस होणं ही एक फार मोठी साधना आहे आणि या साधनेसाठी जे काही अलीकडे विविध ज्ञानशाखेतून आपण शिक्षण घेतोय, सगळ्या ज्ञानशाखा आहेत. तर त्या ज्ञानशाखा मला वाटतं कुठेतरी कमी पडतात माणूस होण्यासाठी. माणूस होणे ही एक साधना आहे आणि त्या साधनेसाठी अलीकडच्या ज्या काही ज्ञानशाखा आलेल्या आहेत त्या कमी पडलेल्या आहेत.
बरोबर आहे सर तुमचं, पण माझं म्हणणं त्याच्या पलीकडे आहे. ज्ञान शाखेमध्ये व्यक्ती वयाच्या 3ऱ्या-4थ्या वर्षी जातो. वयाचे पहिले 3 वर्ष असतात ना, तोपर्यंत आपण घरच्या ज्ञान शाखेत असतो. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, ज्यांना हिंदी समझ नहीं त्यांना हिंदीत सांगते, जिन्हें जिन्हें मराठी समझ नहीं आती है, सर का कहना है, सर जालना जिला से है, महाराष्ट्र में से, सर का कहना है कि कहीं पे तो हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम गलत हो रही है, ज्ञान शाखा जिसे ये बोल रहे हैं, और इसीलिए इंसान को इंसान बनने में प्रॉब्लम है। मतलब आजकल इंसान इंसान ही नहीं है, ये इनका कहना है। बहुत सही है कि इंसान इंसान नहीं है, मैं भी मानती हूँ, लेकिन मैं ये नहीं मानती कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम ही इसके लिए जिम्मेदार है। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि देखो, एजुकेशन सिस्टम, हम अपनी उम्र के 3-4 साल के बाद एजुकेशन सिस्टम में जाते हैं। 3-4 साल तक हम हमारे फैमिली सिस्टम में रहते हैं, हमारे घर में रहते हैं। जो संस्कार हमारे घर में होते हैं, जो संस्कार हमारी माँ माता पिता से होते हैं, वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। आज प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि आज के संस्कार ऐसे हैं, बच्चा गोदी में आता ही वो मम्मी उसके मुंह में दूध का निप्पल थमा देती है और खुद व्हाट्सएप पे लगी रहती है। ये संस्कार होते हैं। बच्चा खाना नहीं खाता है, मूवी लगा दिया, बच्चे के मुंह में एक चम्मच डाल दिया। माँ टीवी देख रही है, बच्चा व्हाट्सएप देख रहा है, मूवी देख रहा है। प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि हम जो संस्कार आप पढ़ेंगे भी, मेरा काफी सारा मानना है, जैसे अभी हमारे रोल नंबर 45 वाली मैडम ने बोला कि मैं बीके शिवानी की तरह साउंड कर रही हूँ। हो सकता है क्योंकि मैं स्पिरिचुअलिटी में बहुत बिलीव करती हूँ और बहुत डेप्थ में कई सारी बातें जिंदगी की मैं पढ़ती हूँ। उसमें ये बात भी एक है कि हमारे जीवन में अंदर से चीजें आती है उसका कितना असर है, और बाहर से कितने आती है उसका कितना असर है। देखो, जिंदगी में आपने गुब्बारा कई बार देखा है, ऊपर जाता है ना हवा में गुब्बारा। गुब्बारा हवा में ऊपर इसलिए नहीं जाता कि आजू बाजू में हवा है, इसलिए जाता है कि उसके अंदर हवा है। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि ज्ञान शाखा ये सारी बातें बाद में आती है, पहले आपके अंदर क्या है ये मायने रखता है। बिकॉज आप अंदर से जैसे है वैसे आप बाहर पे कंट्रोल कर पाओगे। हमारी संस्कृति चेंज इसलिए हुई है कि हमारी लाइफस्टाइल बदल गई है। हमारे पेरेंट्स को उतना वक्त नहीं है कि बैठ के हम पे संस्कार करे, अच्छी बातें सुनाए। वो दिन नहीं रहे अब के रात को बैठ के हम पृथ्वीराज चौहान, महाराजा शिवाजी प्रताप इनकी कहानी सुनते हैं, नहीं सुन सकते हैं क्योंकि कोई सुनाने वाला नहीं है। हम अब क्या देखते हैं, पबजी खेलते हैं, है ना, जो चाहे बैन कर दिया है। तो हमारे लिए, बच्चों के लिए डोरेमोन है या कोई कार्टून्स है जो उनकी जिंदगी बन जाते हैं। और ऐसी ही सारी चीजें मिलके एक इंसान का व्यक्तित्व पूरी तरह से आज बदल गया है। अब कहीं ये जागरूकता आ रही है विथ नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी कि हमें हमारी भाषा से जुड़ना कितना जरूरी है, हमें हमारे कल्चर से जुड़ना कितना जरूरी है। अब ये बदलाव आने में करीबन और 25 साल तो लगेंगे ही, है ना। अब जैसे देखिए, हम इंग्लिश में कितना चिटर पिटर कर लेते हैं और प्राउड भी फील होता है दैट वी टॉक इन इंग्लिश। माफ कीजिएगा, मैं नहीं मानती हूँ। इंग्लिश में बात करने में कोई प्राउड बात नहीं है। मैं उल्टा ये मानती हूँ कि अंग्रेजों ने हम पे राज किया, हम अंग्रेज की गुलामी से तो बाहर आए लेकिन अंग्रेजी की गुलामी से अब तक बाहर नहीं आ पाए। हमें हमारी राष्ट्रभाषा में बात करनी चाहिए। बट अब ऐसा है कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट इंग्लिश में ही है, ग्लोबल कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस इंग्लिश में ही है, तो हमें इंग्लिश बोलनी होती है ना। बट हो सकता है कुछ साल में कुछ सुधराव आ जाए शायद से। ऑलवेज बी पॉजिटिव। थैंक यू फॉर द लवली कमेंट। रोल नंबर 41 ने लिखा है, वेरी नाइस एंड नॉलेजेबल सेशन। थैंक यू सो मच एवरीबडी। और कोई सवाल हो किसी का, या फिर आपको अभी मैं फ्री कर देती हूँ, मैंने 3 घंटा आपका लिया है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
हॅलो मॅडम,
थँक्यू मॅडम, थँक्यू.
थँक यू।
हॅलो मॅडम, माझी ड्युटी
धन्यवाद
मला
मॅडम.
करू द्या.
थँक्यू
हॅलो
मॅडम.
थँक्यू मॅडम, थँक्यू.
थँक्यू. बोला सर, बोला. कोणीतरी काही बोलतंय, बोलू द्या त्यांना.
हॅलो. हा मॅडम.
मला वाटतं कोण बोलते? हॅलो,
I
कोणी
think
हॅलो,
शंकर
येतोय
नसेल
आवाज?
तर आउट ऑफ थँक्सचा टीम.
पिंजारी sir is saying something, I think.
हा. मॅडम, वुमन व्हायलन्सच्या बाबतीत बोलायचं होतं मला की ही बलात्कार वगैरे ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी ज्या आहेत ना, त्या ऑलवेज चुकीच्या आहेत सगळ्या. आणि आपण मानतो सगळं, पण एक गोष्ट मात्र मनात खटकते की आपण जेव्हा बलात्काराच्या बाबतीत समाजामध्ये पाहतो, निर्भया कांड जेव्हा झालं त्याच्या अगोदर बरेचसे असे बलात्कार झालेले आहेत. पण निर्भयाच्या वेळेस समाजाने खूप तीव्र विरोध केला. मात्र खैरांजलीच्या वेळेस तेवढा विरोध नाही झाला, बिल्किस बानोच्या वेळेस तेवढा विरोध नाही झाला. त्यानंतर सफिया जी याच्यामध्ये झालं होतं उन्नावमध्ये, तेव्हा मात्र हे झालं नाही. ह्या गोष्टीचं थोडंसं दुःख वाटतं मॅडम की आपण एवढं सुशिक्षित समाज असून सुद्धा या समाजामध्ये एका ठराविक कॅटेगरीला किंवा एका ठराविक समाजाला सुद्धा हे सगळं केलं जातं. इव्हन आता बिल्किस बानोच्या केसमध्ये जर आपण पाहिलं तर इव्हन रेपिस्ट सुटले जातात, फक्त सोडले जात नाहीत मॅडम, त्यांना माला घातल्या जातात. आणि ती व्यक्ती म्हणजे घरातल्या 7 व्यक्ती मरून, इव्हन आपल्या पोटाची 3 वर्षाची मुलगी आपल्या डोळ्यासमोर तिचं डोकं भिंतीवर आपटून तिला मारलं जातं. आणि अशा व्यक्तीला सुद्धा समाज म्हणून, इव्हन एवढं सुशिक्षित समाज आपण म्हणतो, 21 वर्ष न्यायासाठी दिलं जातं. ती गोष्ट ठीक आहे, न्यायाला वेळ लागतो, पण असं असून सुद्धा त्यांना वागणूक चांगली आहे म्हणून सोडलं जातं. इव्हन गव्हर्नमेंट त्याला सपोर्ट करतं. मग ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी भारतामध्ये राहून एक भारतीय नागरिक म्हणून आता थोडस शरमेचं वाटतं.
बरोबर आहे सर, हे सगळं पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड असतं आणि त्याच्या संदर्भात आपण अकॅडमिक प्लॅटफॉर्म्सवर पॉलिटिकली तर काही बोलू शकत नाही. अकॅडमिकली येस, आपण क्रिटिसाइज करू शकतो, आपल्याला अधिकार आहे बोलण्याचा. खरं आहे तुमचं म्हणणं.
हो, समाज
हा, मी तुम्हा
मग
सगळ्यांसाठी
समाज
हा I will send the PPT to all of you. But meanwhile, I'm just typing my email ID in case you need any help. So मेरी आदत है कि मैं जब भी मिलती हूँ तो लोगों से जुड़ जाती हूँ, क्योंकि जिंदगी में सबसे जुड़ना एक बहुत ही खुशकिस्मती की बात है। तो मेरा मेल आईडी है, मैंने भेज दिया है। आपको कुछ भी क्वेरी हो, कुछ भी एनी हेल्प यू नीड एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, इफ आई कैन बी ऑफ एनी हेल्प टू एनीवन, प्लीज लेट मी नो।
हॅलो मॅडम, थँक्स. आजच्या सत्रामध्ये शर्मिला मॅडमांनी अत्यंत प्रेरक आणि उद्बोधक असं माहितीच्या अधिकाराबरोबरच नाही तर एक आय ओपनर ज्याला म्हटलं, डोळे उघडणारा सामाजिक जबाबदारी किंवा सामाजिक उत्तरदायित्व म्हणून स्त्रियांच्या प्रती आपले ज्येष्ठ नागरिक असतील किंवा इतरही वर्ग, म्हणजे ज्याच्या पद्धती LGBT बद्दल मॅडमनी अधिकाधिक माहिती सांगितली. महिलांच्या हक्कासंदर्भामध्ये समता, पुरुष समानते संदर्भामध्ये नवीन संदर्भ पुढे आहेत आणि त्या दृष्टीनं मॅडमने अत्यंत प्रेरक आणि उद्बोधक पद्धतीने अशा पद्धतीने म्हणेल की मॅडम स्वतः मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर म्हणून त्यांचे थॉट, म्हणजे विचार, म्हणजे पॉझिटिव्ह सकारात्मक विचारासंदर्भात मॅडमचं खूप लेखन आहे. अनेक त्यांनी मांडलेलं आहे. अशा अत्यंत बहुआयामी असं व्यक्तिमत्व आज आपला या सेशनसाठी मॅडमचे खूप खूप आभार. खूप प्रामाणिकपणे आपण हा मुद्दा, सामाजिक जबाबदारीचा मुद्दा समोर मांडला आणि सर्व सहअध्ययीच्या वतीनं मी आपले आभार मानतो आणि आजचं सेशन असं जाहीर करतो.
थैंक यू, धन्यवाद सर। सभी को तहे दिल से शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सब खुश रहिए। कभी भी किसी भी चीज की जरूरत हो, मेरा मेल आईडी है, कुछ भी हो तो फोन मैसेज कर दीजिएगा। आई विल ट्राई टू हेल्प इफ पॉसिबल। और मेरा पीपीटी मैं आपके यहाँ मेल कर दूंगी, विच यू कैन यूज फॉर योर रेफरेंसेस। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू मैडम, थैंक यू.
बाय बाय, टेक
धन्यवाद
केयर।
धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद। टेक केयर एवरीवन, बाय।